All right, we are live, and this is Charlie with Contemplating the Cosmos, and I have a special guest, Betty Cohn. And this is an amazing opportunity for me because I actually, I have a lot of questions for you. I love talking about near-death experiences and things like that, and honestly, this has become a predominant thing for me, just being involved in the discussion, even though I don't actually feel qualified because I'm not somebody who's had a near-death experience, but there has been other people in my life that are close who have, and as I get more integrated into this community, I feel like I'm just bonding a lot more with people who've had the experiences. And honestly, as a lot of my listeners may already know, I've probably heard 500 or read 500 plus accounts, if not more. I haven't really kept count, but the reality is there's so many different angles that I'm actually looking at this from, because it seems like not all accounts are the same. Now, Betty, I appreciate you coming on today, and I wanted to just say right now that I did listen to your NDE radio with interview with Lee Whitting, and so that was only a half hour, but there was like a lot of information that you tried to pack into that half hour. So it's clear that we need to unpack some of this a little more, because you had a very vast experience. Honestly, I would like to kind of step back and go to the beginning if possible, and basically look at kind of what happened to onset you having an experience, which I feel like you might have had some sort of head trauma or something. I forget exactly what happened, but maybe you can explain from the beginning and we can kind of branch out from there.
Okay. I was in a car accident, and so I was thrown out of the car. I got a concussion, a brain concussion.
Yeah.
And so then I was in a coma for 5 days. And during the time in the hospital in the coma, that's when I had the experience leaving my body and going to heaven.
Yeah, well, that would actually cause one of those scenarios, being thrown from a vehicle and having head trauma for sure,
Yes.
being in a coma. So for the listeners, if anybody has any questions, I'll just tell you right now. I have people that leave messages in the comments, and and they'll flash up little. I don't know if you can see that, but
Yes.
Adriana is a regular. Also, Bama. They always come and listen to the near-death experience topics. So, and again, this channel gets into more than just near-death experiences. It's just it's an interesting phenomenon to me that I don't believe is all in the brain, and I believe that there is a lot more to it. Now, I briefly touched on a topic with you via Facebook, but I think that there is something interesting happening in the world that I kind of want to unpack a little bit too. And when I say interesting, I mean, clearly our world is not what it used to be. And really, I like to contrast spiritual with the physical and kind of see how that plays a role. And the reason I'm asking you is because, a lot of the people that have had near-death experiences have kind of taken on some like extra abilities, I guess you could say. And
Mm-hmm.
like I was talking to Sharon Milliman, and she was basically saying how she almost feels like she's getting more and more of a revelation of her experience as time goes on, and she doesn't even realize how much of a near-death experience she had until after the fact. Oh, I'm like knocking stuff over. I'm talking with my hands here.
Okay.
But anyways, yeah. So I mean, I don't want to dominate this. I want to give you an opportunity, because honestly, I'm hoping to get about 2 hours out of you. And if
Yes.
if you want to get kind of into the meat of this,
Okay.
let's you know, you can
Let me
kind of
just
start from the beginning, or explain, maybe introduce yourself and kind of maybe tell a little bit about yourself.
Okay.
Sorry, grab this cup.
Betty Cone, and when this happened to me was in 1971, late 1971. Was a senior in high school, and when I, like I said, I was in a car accident. I was out with on a date. I was out with a friend, and we had, we were out meeting our boyfriends. Anyway, driving home that night, then we had an accident, and so in the accident, we were just, it was where you're at the four-way, the 4 lanes, the medium in the middle, and we had the red flashing light. They had the yellow flashing light, the other side. At the traffic. And so we got midway across, and there was kind of some shrubbery, so you couldn't see. And then we thought it was clear, and we were going across. And then next thing I remember seeing headlights blaring to the right, but this person was going like 65 mile an hour in a 35 mile an hour speed zone. So they hit us just right broadside on the passenger side. Anyway, and so it knocked me out of the vehicle, and I went very far away and landed on the ground. That's where I got the brain concussion. And then the guy I was with, he just flagged over cars to flag him over to take me to the hospital.
Yeah.
And so they just loaded me, and they said the two guys said later that when they picked me up that I was just stiff. I mean, it was just like a board was stiff. So they put me in the car and took me to the emergency. Then I was in the hospital for about 2 to 3 weeks, or about 2 weeks probably. I was in the coma for 5 days. So during this time, when I was in the coma, at some point I could hear everybody talking in the room. It's just like I was just laying, I was just off, but I was there. I was present. I could hear everything. Because, of course, to me, because your spirit, we're spirit, soul, and body. Our spirit never sleeps. It's awake. I mean, your spirit can hear and see and everything. So this is all going on. I could hear people talking in the room. I could hear the conversations with some of the family. And then at some point, I remember I just kept feeling, because I got hit back here on the right side, the back, and it was just kind of throbbing and hurting. It was like I didn't like this pain. And at some point, I just kept feeling like I thought, I'm just going to get up. I just got to get up. So I just thought I got up. Well, my spirit did. I got up. I just got up. It's like, wow, feels great. And there wasn't anybody there, of course. It was just me in the room at that time. I got up and I thought, wow, okay. So I really just floated over to the mirror, the vanity, because you really just move by thought. You just move by where you want to go. And so I thought, oh, it just feels so great. So I went over and I saw my hairbrush laying there on the vanity. And I thought, I just somehow knew that I had dirt in my hair. And I kept thinking something happened. I don't know. Didn't really figure out what had happened, who had the wreck or what. But I just see the hairbrush, and I go to pick it up, and my hand goes right through it. I could not pick up that hairbrush. And it was like, what is going on, So
you were having the same kind of like emotional state that you would have had it just in your body. You're like, oh my gosh, like what's happening?
Yeah, I could see my hand, but it was transparent. And then I looked at myself in the mirror, and it was transparent. It's like I could see me, but it was, ghost form, transparent. I could see through. I thought, I couldn't get that hairbrush. So then I just look and I see in the mirror, and I can see someone's laying in the bed behind me, because I'm looking in the mirror. And I look over there, and it took a little while before I could realize that was me. I know you would think you would just know instantly, but it's quite different seeing yourself outside of your body and you see yourself like it's. I don't
Yeah.
know. I just kept looking like, and I thought, I think that's me. How could that be me though? And I'm over here.
So
So that was.
one of the listeners was asking if you had any unusual color, like if you were blue or.
I wonder what that means. What color?
Like I don't know if your spirit was like a different color of any kind. Or,
Oh
anyway.
no, I don't even call that.
Just normal, right? Just
like
transparent.
I look, just transparent. But so when I could see it was me, and I thought, okay, and then I was trying to really. This is just 17. I was almost 18. I was 7 years old. I'm like that, trying to think. Okay, let's get up, because I was trying to get my body up. Like, let's go. Because I don't want to get back in that body, and I'm trying to wake myself, and I'm trying, and nothing happened. I thought, well, I can't deal with this. I'm not getting back in that body. So I just was thinking, what am I going to do? Where am I going to go? So I just kind of go over to the. If you want all these, well, we've got time. These details. I go over to the doorway and I look out, and I'm just standing there looking out in the hall. And there are people, but they're also spirits. Now I'm seeing, of course, real people around them, but this group that's coming by, there are just a train of them coming by. And my grandpa, who had died about 6 months before that, he's like at the head of it, and I'm seeing him, and he and these people are waving like, "Come on, follow us, come on." And I thought, and then some girl, I remember one slender girl there at the back, she had blonde hair, and she's young, and she's like, "Come on, follow us." And I did not trust that. I thought, oh, what if that's not really my grandpa? And I don't know. It's just kind of I just felt like that, because what's he doing with these people? It didn't make sense. And he looked older then too, like he would have when he died. But there was something suspicious. There was just something felt off. And I thought, I do believe though that was God also protecting me. So I wouldn't fall.
To have that hesitation, like I don't know.
Yeah, well, it was like I was afraid to go, because I thought, well, once I go to following them, where are they going? What if I can't find my way back to the room? Because I was realizing and noticing how easy you move. It's like you just by thought, you just move. You almost feel like you have no control in a way.
Hey Betty, I don't mean to cut you off, but here's kind of where I'm at with this, and I'm hoping that we can kind of address some of these issues. But so like I spoke with Howard Storm. This is the exact scenario that he basically was in a room and somebody was telling him, "Come on, follow us," and he thought it was the doctors or something. But the same kind of thing happened. That's kind of the same scenario with most of the near-death experiences, where they are led into a dark void or something. And go. I'm just concerned that maybe, like, if there was something like an entity that was luring you into the dark void and trying to tell you to follow it, what they were trying to deceive you. Is that what you're saying?
Yes, that's what I was going to say. To me, the Lord revealed to me that they were counterfeit escorting spirits trying to give me a trip to hell. Of course, I believe because I was born again, the Lord would have got me out of there, but it saved me from that experience. I think that was just a deception. And so as soon as I just decided in my mind, I thought, no, I'm not following them. And I just turned right back into the room. I'm standing in the doorway. I just turned right back into the room. And the second I did, as soon as I turned back in the room, facing inside the room, my room, the whole room just lit up with the most glorious bright white light. I mean, it just saturated. And the next thing, I'm just sucked out of there instantly like a vacuum, just like a magnet. Going at the fastest speed that you could ever imagine. And so as I'm going, and I was aware that it was like I was encased. I'm going through space and I'm seeing all this. Oh my gosh, but it was the fastest speed ever. But yet there's a tunnel, and it's like I'm encased in, I would call like a heavenly chariot, because it's like invisible, but I know something's around me, and I felt the presence, like probably angels with me. I don't remember particularly looking, but I knew there was a presence with me. It's like, we're okay, everything's. So I didn't feel alone. I wasn't scared, but it was just amazing. It was like, oh my gosh, I'm just going so fast. So
when you were pulled away from this dark place into this light, and it sucked you up or whatever, it kind of reminded me of, resist the enemy and he'll flee from you or whatever. It makes me feel like you had that sense of resistance, and you knew what to expect. So like in this moment, you were already aware that you were out of your body, correct?
Oh yes, yes.
Okay.
And so yeah, it was like once there was the temptation, and I resisted and said no. So then it kind of like they got a legal avenue. Then okay, good, we're taking her. She because you really, and I believe it's really illegal for a spirit, a human spirit outside the body to remain on this earth very long, because it's, when you think of it, I mean, you got to go somewhere, because we can't operate, we can't function in this three-dimensional world. A spirit can't pick anything up. You walk through doors, and so it's like it's almost like spiritual law. So I know after so long, something was gonna have to be done. It's either gonna have to get back in my body or go. So the Lord, I don't know if this was all planned or if he just working as I'm making choices here, but he took me. And so I'm going through this, and it's just the fastest speed. Like I said, it just seemed like we went far, far away. And I do remember heading off. It's like this will sound from the hospital, which is we were heading off north, the north. And I think about different scriptures talk about the North Star, the north. That's indicates that that's where heaven is. Anyway,
that's you say that.
Yeah. So I mean, just a little incidental thing there. But so then in this long descent, and I'm just seeing all this wonderful. I mean, I'm seeing like out in space. It's just all these. I can even see the planet. I mean, I can see the Earth. I can see everything back there. I'm just like going through space, but yet I'm encased in, and I can see this tunnel all the way. And I'm looking. There's a bright white light at the end. Then all of a sudden we slow down, just like in an aircraft, like in an airplane, and you're slowing down as you're approaching, and so.
The final descent.
Slow down. Yeah. Like slowing down and then we're going through different colors, but they just encircle the whole tunnel. These colors, we go through each color, every color of the rainbow, purple, blues, all the different colors, reds, orange, yellow, all of the greens, all of it. And then the last color is yellow, and then it comes to the white, bright white light color, and that's heaven. But we go through each color, I experience and feel, I mean, it just goes through every part of my being, all the different traits of God. At that time, I didn't understand about the Bible, but now I can so appreciate it so much more, because all the different attributes of the Lord, like the glory, the like purple, is royalty. I mean, I can feel all these different things about the Lord, the peace, the love, all these different colors represent different parts of his character and his attributes. So it was like, oh my gosh, almost like a conditioning to experience this before you enter heaven. And so we're just coming this low descent, and then finally we come to the end, and there's the brightest of all, and that's heaven. And it's almost like I feel like I just step out of the chariot, just like stepping onto another planet. It's almost like and there, first thing is my grandpa, the same one, my grandpa, but this time he looks very young, dark hair, and he looks about, early 30s. Well, and of course, to me, that's biblical, because I don't think anyone in heaven will be over 33, because they're not going to be older than what Jesus was.
Yeah.
33, he went to heaven, and that would be as long as anyway. So I saw my grandpa, and we just had a quick exchange there, and I was just, like, oh my gosh, now this is you. Yes. And we just had communication. You don't speak with your mouth. It's just you have a thought, and it's instant, back and forth. When you just think a question, the answer's there instantly. Yeah. And so, yeah. Anyway, so he was letting me. He just was saying to me, like, it's okay. This is, you're good. He said, I'm just here to kind of greet you, kind of helping you cross over as you crossed over from that life to this life, crossing over death in this life. And I thought, that's kind of. And anyway, so we just had a warm exchange. There wasn't any. And then he said, I'll see you later. You're gonna go over there. Like that was it. And he left. I look over there, and they're surrounded, just right there at the entrance is just all these people. And I knew they were all relatives. And some of them I had never met, because from years ago, before I was ever born. So they're way back ancient, but I could tell they were just smiling, just glowing. I mean, just such a pureness all over them. They were just lit up. And everybody had just like they would as in person with flesh, all their different faces and distinctions. You could tell we're all spirits up here. But in heaven, it's like that's normal because everything is spirit material in heaven. So we all look like this. And you look down, it just seems like you just see a white light, just like a white robe over yourself. Everyone, their faces are different sizes, different heights. And these relatives, they're all just greeting me and welcoming me. And just, I mean, they are just the love that they just poured out. Like they're expecting me. And they were just, yeah, so glad to see you. And I thought, wow. But I knew I knew these were all my relatives. These are my aunts, uncles, and great great grandparents, whatever. And so it was just very warm exchange. Then they're saying, it's like, now I know this will sound, but this man comes over and he tells me, he says, okay, you have an appointment with the king. And I didn't know this at the time, but later on the Lord revealed to me that this was Abraham. He's like he takes you on the tour. He gives you the tour because this is like Abraham's bosom, and it talks about in the Bible. And of course, I make reference to this a lot because this is the Lord is my life, and the Bible is.
You were
Which
saying
I didn't
that.
know at the time. Pardon
So
me?
you're saying heaven is Abraham's bosom, is what you're saying?
No, the paradise part of heaven.
Oh,
And it says talks about Abraham's bosom was paradise, and when Jesus died, he went to the upper regions of hell, and that was the paradise then, but that was the upper regions of hell. Then he took it up to heaven, and so it
gotcha.
was that. See, then that, yeah. Anyway, because that's when he led captivity captive, took them to heaven. So he came down, gave those people a chance to, hey, here's the Savior. Do you want to come with me? And those that did went with him. So on up to heaven, but it was taken up to heaven. So now it's the paradise, which is right there. It's all heaven, but it's the paradise, beautiful gardens and valley and meadows and all this that just surrounds the city of heaven and the gates and everything. So it's all there together. So anyway, but he's telling me, he says, you have an appointment. And I'm thinking, what's that? Appointment with the king. He said, yes, come on. He says, I want to show you around. And I'm just so mesmerized. It's just like, it's so hard to describe, to give it adequate description. But it's almost like everything is liquid love, liquid, bright, vivid colors, almost like cartoon, like just everything just looks like it's fluid, like wet colors, just bright, 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 bright. This earth, our colors are just so pale in comparison. There was colors there.
In your thought process, do you just remember like how vivid it is? Like it was just that real? Like, is that the memory that you see? Because in like you're painting this picture for me, and it's like, and I'm thinking of something that just seems like a movie or something, but your description is coming straight from a memory of something that's real, right?
Oh,
It's like so real.
Absolutely, yes. It's spiritual things never die. They're eternal. So that memory would, I remember it better than any kind of dream or anything. This is just, it's a reality. So like I said, all the colors, it's just like this gorgeous paradise that I'm just taking. He's telling me, Abraham's saying, he says, go ahead, just take it all in. Take it all in, because, they know your thoughts. I mean, everything, you know each other, what they're thinking, or everything's all open. And so I'm just looking around at everything and just taking it all in. Just can't believe this paradise, this gorgeous, gorgeous. I mean, everything is perfection, totally manicured. The grass, the brightest green you ever saw, and perfectly manicured. Everything. It's just like something, like it's a wonder world. And so I'm just looking, and he says, I'm looking over here to the left, and I see the river of life that talks about in the Bible. But see, I hadn't read the Bible at that time when this happened to me. So it wasn't like, I had a preconceived ideas about what it was going to be. So that's what you experienced, like I've heard people say. But no, that was not the case. And I had been in the Catholic Church. I grew up in the Catholic Church. And so I had gone there through the 8th grade, but then went on to public school in the 9th grade. So I did have that, but no, still didn't read the Bible or anything. I hadn't. So all of this is just so brand new. And I'm just looking, oh my gosh. And then I see this off to my right, and it's just a whole bunch of people. It's kind of like it goes down a hill, like a valley, and just this wide area. There's a lot of people over here too. And so I'm just looking and seeing everything. And like I said, then I could hear music, the most glorious music. It's like every instrument in the world playing at once, but yet they all perfectly harmonized. Just
Can I
amazing.
can I tell you a quick thing
Yes.
that to contrast what you're saying? So my mother-in-law passed away like almost not 2 years ago, like a year and a half ago.
Mhm.
And she was basically on her deathbed, and we were standing around her bed, and she was saying things that were incoherent, and but then all of a sudden you could see on her face her face just kind of lit up, and she's like, "Oh, the music is so beautiful."
Mhm.
And then
Yes.
she passed away like within the next few days. But it
Yes.
just that's the kind of stuff that I think about, like when you say that there was beautiful music. So
Yes.
go ahead, sorry.
I think that people, before they die, when they get close to death, they enter into the spirit world already. It's like they're part of them's in the spirit world and part of them's here. You can be in both places, like at the same time. And so they're entering in, so they start experiencing. They'll say, "Oh, I see my sister. I see," you know. So it is amazing the way that is. I understand what you're saying.
Yeah.
So, but yes, so that's probably why she was, crossing over. She was in that mid state.
Yeah.
But so yes, the music, everything was just glorious. So then he's telling me, he says, yes, you need to, you have a meeting to meet with the king. And then all of a sudden, as I'm looking around there and I'm seeing just taking everything in, and then I look, and then all of a sudden there's a commotion, and that's like I said, these people over here to my right, and I'm hearing everybody, and they're all just start, oh yeah, there he comes, and I'm thinking, what's all this excitement about? And I just look, it's where they're looking, and over here, straight out to the left. Over here, it's like on the other side of the city because I see the big pearl gate goes all the way around, huge, massive around the city, and you can see the skyline of all the buildings, just gloriously beautiful, just like just mansions of almost like palaces. It's just beautiful architecture that I've never seen before. I look over here, there's this little rolling hills, and there's this. I see this huge. It looks just like a round ball of light coming across, but it's just moving very slowly. And so I see that this is what they're looking at, and I'm saying, what is that? It looks almost just like the sun sat down on the earth and it's just gliding across these hills, coming across. So I'm looking at that and watching, and I thought, okay, they're all watching this light come, just a ball of light. And of course, from that far away, it just looked like a huge ball. And as it kept coming, then he comes around the city this way and comes over this way, comes out now, and as he's getting, and I'm walking then up the hill because that's when Abraham, he said, go ahead, go walk up to meet him, to meet. And at some point there he said this, and I'm just knowing to go up this hill. And I'm going up, and I'm seeing then as he comes and as he gets closer, he's still in the distance, but as he gets closer and closer, and I said, oh, I'm looking, I said, oh, and instantly in my mind, it's like I just said, oh, that's a person. Oh, I know who that is. That's Jesus Christ. Instantly,
Huh.
I knew. And so then that's what all the commotion of everyone. He's coming up here, so I'm going, trying to meet him, going up, and all of a sudden it's like I got to a place, and like I say, you don't really walk, you don't take steps with your legs, you just move by thought, you just travel by the Spirit. It's like you glide or you just float. So I'm coming, but I actually couldn't go any further. It's like I couldn't go any further. I just was getting weak. And then that's when Abraham says, "Come over here." He says, "Come on." He said, "Come over here. I want to show you something." So I walk over there with him, and he shows me the fruit trees, and they're lined on both sides of the river there. And he says, "Here." He says, "See the fruit?" I'm looking. Yes, it looks like a cross between a peach and a apple. Kind of a copper color, not very big, just like a little smaller than a peach. And he says, "Go ahead, take some and eat." So I reached to pick it off, and it's so funny, and I guess just because of the transition of spirit to spirit, everything's just a different feel. Everything is so easy. And so when I did, it was almost like it was just so light, and I think I dropped it. It's like it just let go. And I looked, and then I looked down to the ground, and it just disintegrated. There wasn't anything, just like it disappeared. And I look up back where the place where I picked it, and a brand new piece of fruit is on there instantly. So that really stood out. It was like, wow, instant. And I said, and I turned, and he knew what I was saying. He said, "Don't worry, you can't mess up anything here. Don't." He said, "Everything's perfect here. It's okay. Just take it again." So I took it and I put it in my mouth this time, and it just exploded, like just almost like I could feel the power and the literal glory of God come in me, just explosion. And it's more than just a taste. It was like just, I mean, just wow. It just, all of your senses, everything about it is just like, wow, what that is, that was the most quenching, just like, that's exactly what I needed. That was wonderful, wonderful. But I just felt spiritual strength and everything come right into me. He says, now you can go, now you can go and meet. I didn't understand at the time, but see, I was spiritually weak. That, you know, spiritually, I was just a babe in Christ because I hadn't really done anything. I was just born again, but I hadn't really committed my life, making him the Lord or really living for him totally. You know what I mean? And so I was weak. And so this gave me strength. That was spiritual strength because even in heaven, it takes a certain stature of spirit to go, I guess, to go up the hill to meet him and stand in front of him for that long, because I just wasn't strong enough. So then it's like, he said, now you can go. So after I ate that, and I just felt invigorated in every way. And I go out with no problem now. I can go. I've got the strength. And I go up and I stand right in front of him. And we're just standing there, just face to face. And I'm, of course, just looking, you know, just feeling just, oh my gosh, just mesmerized. Is just so overpowering, his love. His love. That, like I say, that was the greatest thing in heaven, was standing there in my encounter there with Jesus. Absolutely. And I was just so mesmerized, and I could feel he was scanning my whole life. I could, looking in his eyes, I was just, oh my gosh, I felt so exposed. Yet when you started to, it's like I started to feel almost like, oh gosh, just so unworthy. But his love just washed me. It's just like, no, he just overcame any feelings of inferior, you know, where you would feel to draw back. He just kept pouring his love. It was just overwhelming. But I knew he was scanning me from birth to death of my whole life. And just like almost through all the scenes, he knew exactly everything from birth all the way in the future until I died. Everything. I knew he was looking at my whole life. And so
was this something that he was revealing to you as he was scanning your life? I mean, was this something that you could see him processing through, I guess?
Yeah, like where people say they have a life review. This is the part that I thought about. This is the part that, because like I say, it is amazing how this is. But when you think of it, when the Lord downloads something that powerful into you, it almost takes many years to unfold it all. You know, that's why there's still understandings of things that come to me. It's like, what was that about? You know, what does that? And it's kind of like more understanding on that comes, because there was so much happened. You feel like you're almost there a lifetime, because I could say 3 or 4 hours, 3 or 4 years. I don't know. It's just because you're outside of time. Heaven is outside of time.
Yep.
And God lives outside time because time is a created thing. He created time, so he lives outside of it. But
real quick, sorry, I don't want to interrupt, but this is an important question. I feel like a lot of people want to know the answer to. Do we judge ourselves when it comes to judgment? I know Jesus kind of is part of that process, but what's your thoughts?
Well, I've heard people talk about that a lot, that they say this, you know, of course, like I say, according to the Bible, which I believe is the truth, the Bible says, you know, I mean, we'll even judge angels. So, but God tells us, you know, if we judge ourselves, we won't be judged. So, but, you know, in a way, I'm sure I was, you know, you automatically would feel like anything that was wrong, that I wasn't doing right, you feel kind of like, oh, this isn't, you know right from wrong instantly, because you're in the presence of all righteousness with Jesus right there. And his presence is all over, saturating. It's in everything. And so I was seeing, and I do remember, this is the thing, when he went through that, because I thought, okay, maybe that's like the life review, because he was scanning me, and I think I was seeing, like, how do you want to say, like little clips of things in my life. And some of it I was saying, wow, there's my whole life, you know, but it was really quick. It was just so quick that I didn't really take note, and that's never something that I've always majored on telling. But I've thought about that more. And I thought, well, but then I saw some things in the future, and as he got older, and as it got on through closer to the years beyond the age I was at, and it just went really fast there. And I saw this, and it's kind of like I knew there was more things that he and I conversed about my personal that I still to this day have not been able to recall. And I know some people think, well, how, because they will remember everything. Well, it has been said to me, and the Lord showed me, he said, it's like it's in a time capsule. Some things will be revealed to you when it's time, because some of the things you couldn't handle right now. I want, when you get to this place, I'll show you the rest, because I know there was more conversation. It was very profound. It was very so meaningful to me. He kept talking to me about the power of the will, and I came back with this understanding of knowing how powerful the will is. That, I mean, if you will to live, you'll live. If you will to die, you'll die. I mean, because it puts things in motion about which way things are going to go in your life. That in itself puts it into motion, but it's based on the will. And he paid such a high price to give us free will. That was part of substitutional work that he did on the cross for us, to give us that right to choose. Because we're not puppets, we're not forced. So, but anyway, we had this conversation, and he just was scanning my life, and I was just like, oh wow. And I, but I felt so exposed, just like X-ray eyes. He's looking at you, but yet at the same time, his eyes are like fire. And I saw every color of the rainbow come out of his eyes on the glory side. On the natural side, when he would turn his head a certain way, I'd see that it's like, okay, there's his natural. And his eyes are like blue-green. Blue-green. You would think, because people, although they'd be brown. No, I remember blue, that blue, just kind of a greenish tint blue. And of course, there is blue-eyed Jews also. So that must have come down his, on Mary's side. But anyway, let me think. He, so I don't know. He was just, so, I got to calm down here. I went back there.
No, that's good. Just let it bubble out.
Exactly. That's how you do it. It's like, okay, I'm back in here. Wait, let's see. Earth. This is Earth. Okay. But anyway, yes, I'm just so caught up into looking at him, but I can see his natural side. His eyes are blue. He's slender, looks like about 6 foot, maybe 5'10" to 6 foot. But he just, and he's got on this long gown, like a white robe with a blue sash, blue and gold sash and gold trim. But really, even though all that is, because people ask, but the thing that stood out was the love and the compassion and the holiness and the gloriousness of him was so overwhelming that the physical anything didn't hold a candle. It wasn't the dominant thing. I was so overwhelmed by this wonderful love. It's just like all knowledge. I was in the presence of all knowledge. And at that time, I knew everything. I knew and understood everything. This was the thing. It was like that most wonderful, creamy feeling inside. It's like, oh my gosh, I understand everything. I see how everything works. It all makes perfect sense. When you're in that presence, because it would have been wonderful to retain all that back when I got back here. Wow. This was like, God, what was that? And so, but it was just, it felt so good. And I thought, oh, I understand. Understanding. Everything just is so illuminated because you're in the presence of all knowledge and all love and all everything good. And so we're just talking there. He's like, I'm seeing this and I'm feeling his love just overwhelm me. At some point, I know that it must have just overwhelmed me because it's like I'm down at his feet, because I remember looking at his feet and seeing his bronze colored skin with his sandals and just seeing that. And I saw the marks, in his, of course I didn't, but it's like, it's just a clear hole. It's just like a hole. There's nothing there. And so, I mean, really, for what I had been subjected to knowledge-wise spiritually at that time, I didn't know a lot, so it wasn't like all this, meant as much as it should have to me. I mean, to a degree, but not anything like now, of course. Yeah. But so as we're talking, we're communing there, but like I said, you just spirit to spirit, you just think of a question. Even at first I said, well, what is this? I said, I'm in heaven? Yes. I said, how did I get to heaven? And he said, we're just this conversation. He said, well, you were, I'm not sure if he even said about the accident, but he said, Satan tried to disrupt the blueprint I have for your life. Satan tried to disrupt you. He said, he disrupted it. In other words, trying to take my life early. He said, but he starts telling me right away, because he knows all your thoughts. He says, you need to go back. Oh, and I hated to hear that. And so he said, you can't stay. You need to go back. But that's what he was talking to me about, the power of the will. You need to choose this. In other words, I'm not, but then he could do anything, so I'm sure he could have, but that he was letting me know it was important for me to choose. It's important. So he said, you need you need to be willing to go back. You need to. And I'm like, oh no, no, no. He said, but he's telling me, he said, look, you have not completed the blueprint I have for your life. And Satan tried to disrupt it and to stop it. And I have a work for you to do on the earth. And
Yeah.
I'm thinking, in my mind, like jobs, but it didn't matter. He knew I would know later on. He said, you need to go back. And I just did not want to. And I'm just like, oh gosh, no, no, I want to stay. I want to stay, And of course, but he's just, he's dealing, he just deals with you so perfectly because he knows your every thought. He knows everything. And he just was telling me that he starts talking about my mother, my family. He said, see, he said, don't you want to go back and see your mother? Don't you want to see your mother? And I said, well, yeah. And he says, well, your mother needs you. And it was just kind of he's showing me things. And the next thing, it's like I see mother praying. It's like I get a vision, or I'm just there on the earth and I see her praying. I see the family praying. I see my grandmother praying on my dad's side. I see her praying. I see all this. Then at the same time, too, all of a sudden when we're conversing here, there's these little light mists coming by, and I could feel it. It's like incense, almost like a smoke incense, but lights, twinkling lights. And I could feel it pulling me. He said, see that? He said,
No,
those are, pardon
sorry.
me?
No, you were about to say what I was saying, and those are the
Okay,
prayers,
yeah. Right. He said, you feel, and I said, oh my gosh, I could feel the magnet of that pulling me back. And he said, those are the prayers of your family praying for you. He said, and they're praying my will for you to go back. And I have to answer those prayers.
Yeah.
And I said, oh, boy, I could literally feel them. I mean, and just like the Bible, of course, I didn't know at that time, but in the Bible talks about that, that our prayers are as a fragrance of incense coming before the throne. And
Yeah.
so anyway, but I was, I could feel this, and I thought, okay, yes, yes. And then he's just going through different things. Then he says, the next thing I know, he says, because he's trying to say, you need to go back. You need to go back and finish your life. And so then next thing I'm in a casket. It's all of a sudden like it's either he's giving me this experience right there in heaven where I'm experiencing, or I'm just like back on the earth. And all of a sudden I'm in a casket. Pardon me?
Yeah, I'm just saying, you wake up in a casket.
It would be instant. I mean, everything is totally supernatural. And then all of a sudden I'm in a casket in the Catholic Church, and there's my funeral, and I'm in my own funeral, and I'm in that casket, and I'm like, oh my gosh. And so I would just go through the flowers, in the casket, like I just go through the flowers on top of there, and I just look out, seeing who all was there, go back down. This was the experience. And I'm looking and seeing all this grief and sadness and my family.
So this is a glimpse. This is a glimpse of what you would have gone through if you died. Okay.
Yes. He's showing me. See, he's letting me experience it. And so all of a sudden it's just like, here's my death. And I'm looking and I'm feeling the heaviness. I can feel, oh my gosh, there's so much sadness. This isn't good. This isn't, it's like, this is the end of my life. And so I'm just feeling that and seeing all the sadness and the tears. Next thing I'm back. I'm standing right there with him. And whether I was standing there the whole time and he just puts me in that vision, or whether I came here, doesn't matter, but because it happened. It's just as real as if it was happening right then. And I said, oh my gosh. He said, is this what you want? He said, is that what you want? That would be he said, because if you don't go back, that's what it's going to be. And then I felt, I said, no, to myself, no, I don't want to cause all that. I don't want to do that. That's not good. So that was getting to me also. And so, he was just trying to let me know, well, you have to make this, you have to decide, you have to choose. So then I just still didn't want to. I'm going with him, and we're up here at the top of the hill. Right behind him is the entrance to the city of heaven. And in the plus I got to tell you, all the flowers. My gosh, there's flower gardens everywhere. And those flowers in those beautiful colors, and the fragrance in heaven is awesome. It's just saturated everywhere. And I still just call it the fragrance of Jesus, or the fragrance of God, fragrance of heaven. Some people say, well, the fragrance of our prayers, the fragrance of the flowers, it's just saturated in everything because it's all Jesus. He is in everything in heaven. So, but it's just so thick. It's just the most intoxicating, but I mean, beautiful, beautiful, holy, just a pure smell. It just, and I still smell that a lot of times when I just get in times of prayer. I still smell it. And it's, but it's just in the spirit. It's a spirit. It's so strong that you think you're smelling it with your natural nose, but you're not. It's your spiritual nose picking it up. But it's so overwhelming. It just seems to come into the natural. But anyway, so I'm seeing all this, and then in the buildings and everything in the city, I'm looking at this, and the skyline of the buildings. Oh my gosh, there are plants and flowers woven into the structure, the architecture, and they're like just pulsating with life. Everything just pulsates with life, and it was so gorgeous. And it's like everything is, of course, everything in heaven is alive. Even the buildings, everything is just alive. Even that living water that I can see in the river of life. It's so crystal clear, but it's a beautiful blue, beautiful, gorgeous blue with gold sparkles. Everything in heaven pretty much has like gold sparkles shimmering in it. And that's, I think, that's the glory on it. And so I was looking in the river of life, and you can see it's so clear. You can see all the way down, but yet it still has that wonderful color. Even the streets, and I did see the streets of gold. It's pure. You can see all the way through, but they're gold. It's just that pure. Anyway, but so when he's standing there and we're there in heaven, I mean, we're there at he's right, of course, we're there in heaven. We're right there. Behind him is the gates around the city and everything. And so, I keep coming in toward him, and it's like he keeps backing up. So because I'm wanting to stay. And all of a sudden, and I'm seeing all this, it's like the pearl gate. One of them, there's several of them all around. It's just crystal clear, just that mother of pearl, gorgeous, huge. And I'm saying, okay, we will just go right into the city. We can go right here because it's right behind him. And finally, he just kind of puts his hand out, like he says, no. He said, you need to stop. Don't come any further. You need to stop, or you won't be able to go back. And this is the part that took me a long time to understand. Because I thought one thing about it until finally later the Lord showed me, no, that wasn't. He's saying, no, you need to go back. You don't come any further. And it's like he just almost like drew a line with his foot, like, don't come any further here. You need to go back. And I said, well, and I'm like, well, why? And he extends his left hand. He says, because he said, it won't be like you think. And that kind of got my attention. You won't be like you think. He said, you'll be over here. If you stay and don't go back, you'll be over here in outer darkness. That's what I remember, outer darkness. Well, we think of hell instantly with that, because there are many places in the Bible that it does mean hell, but there are places in the Bible that it does not mean hell. And you have to look up the Greek and Hebrew.
Yeah, I actually have this discussion with a lot of the people that I bring on to my show because it is an important topic. And, one of my first interviews I had was with Brian Melvin. I don't know if you know who that is, but he had a hell experience, and he talked to me about this darkness that he was in, but then it turned into, well, I think that it was more of like there was these weird reptilian creatures or something that were deceiving him and controlling his thoughts. Mm-hmm. And there was also little pods that he could see, these creatures like deceiving other people and creating kind of a paradise reality that turned into a hell reality. Now, the point that I'm trying to make is that hell has different root words throughout the Bible. There's Sheol, there's Gehenna, there's Hades. So I don't know if that's what you're trying to say, but
yeah, different levels. Well, the thing is, I definitely believe there's a hell. It's just that in my case, that's what I thought. I thought, ooh, so he means hell, and I'm not going to get to stay, so I didn't make it. All this is going through my mind. He knew it. Of course, he knows everything. He reads everything. He's knowing this. But it was like I'm thinking, oh, gosh, I can't chance that. When I looked, because it's over to my right and his left, and I looked over there, and it was like all I could see was like, it just looked a little like a dark entrance, like stepping off the planet of heaven almost. It just seemed like going to another. And it just looked not black, but it just looked a little darker. And I thought, oh, I don't know. That just almost looks like I'd be stepping out into outer space. That's what was in my mind. I thought, oh, I don't know about that. He didn't care what I thought at that time because he knew later I would know. I didn't know anything about, I just didn't know yet. But he wanted me to see how important it was to him that I go back. Yeah. And so I thought, so I was thinking hell. But I'll tell you what he revealed to me later, years later. That was not hell, because I was born again. If I hadn't been born again, I would have had to go to hell, even though he was showing me this. But the thing that got me is because I was asking the Lord, I've been praying the Spirit a whole lot. And of course, I'm a Spirit-filled Christian. I believe in praying in tongues, the gifts of the Holy Spirit, all of it. It's all very real. And 36 years here with it. But anyway, I've been praying, and it also, it's a revelation gift. It just brings things to your mind from the spirit realm. And so finally, it's like this thing started, the Lord's bringing some of these things to my mind. So, and I'm thinking, about the heaven thing. It's like, I kept thinking, well, what? That seems so weird. What, going to hell? And then I got to eat all the fruit. I mean, I ate that fruit, and he says, that's right. He said, oh no. And it's like, no, it wasn't hell. I was thinking, because how? Yeah, because I ate the fruit, and he said, yes. He said, there's no way you could have eaten that fruit. It can't come into a spirit that's not born again. That's the tree of life. That's that's has the life of God in that fruit. Well, it would explode if you're a spirit if it wasn't born again. You couldn't handle it. And I thought, yeah. So then what's the? It's like he said, no, you were going to have no reward. You had done nothing. There is a place of loss of reward in heaven, just like there's levels in hell. There's levels in heaven. Okay. There's a place in heaven of loss of reward. In other words, there'll be a lot of deathbed repentances. People get born again on their deathbed. They don't have a chance to do anything to work a reward or do anything really for the Lord. So they just die, because it talks about this in also 1 Corinthians chapter 3 and 5 about, everything we do in this life or don't do, we're going to be rewarded or lose reward. And whatever we build onto the foundation has to pass the test of fire. And so, I hadn't done anything. And so he says, no, you're born again, so you made it to heaven. You've been born again as a child. Then I was thinking, I was even to the place of, well, when exactly? Because I thought, at the Catholic Church, you go for your first communion in first grade. But nothing happened, because I was expecting. I was just like, I kept saying, I don't feel any different. There's nothing, it just didn't.
Yeah.
And so I'm thinking, at the Catholic Church, are you sure, Lord? Do you not know? No. And it's like, no. He says, remember when you went next door to the neighbor's house? It was a little Sunday school, and you and your brother went. And he said, remember? And all of a sudden, he took me back to that, and I thought, yeah, I remember that. He said, remember how you felt me, how you felt my presence when they played the music, the songs for children. Jesus loves the little children of the world, and Jesus loves me. This I know, all these songs. I'd never heard any of these in the Catholic Church. They just didn't have that type of music. But this was just, it said, remember how you felt my presence, and I became so real to you. It was like, oh my gosh. I said, yes. He said, remember when they prayed with you about salvation? And he said, and you open your heart. And he said, yes. And I came in. You received. That's when you were born again. I thought, that is right. So then I said, okay. He said, but you hadn't done anything. You were only subjected to the Catholic Church. You didn't know much about anything. We had just looking at the whole thing. God is perfectly just. He will not judge us beyond our knowledge. And when we've not been given a chance for more knowledge, he would be unjust to judge us beyond that. And he doesn't. He's so merciful and compassionate. And so he looks at everything, and he judges perfectly and accurately, more than anyone, of course. And so he said, no, you hadn't done anything, but you really had not been exposed to a whole lot either to choose and to know. And so he was letting me know that, oh my gosh, I get so caught up in what I'm saying. He was just letting me know that, yes, I made it to heaven, of course, because I was born again, but I had done nothing for him. And so I hadn't. Go ahead.
That reminds me of when Jesus says, "If you are not for me, you are against me."
Yes.
It kind of reminds me of like how complacency plagues people in this world. They basically just don't. They're in that place of like or apathy. Like they don't give a crap ultimately. And I think that it makes sense to me that you would have that revelation when you are standing before Jesus, is that you didn't
Right,
actually do anything.
right. And that was the thing. So he was letting me know that, I hadn't done anything for him, so I couldn't, I was going to be in the loss of reward place. There is a loss of reward place in heaven. And it even talks about this in Matthew 22. I believe it's 22. I have to double check. I think so. And it's in the other Gospels where it talks about that there was a marriage supper in heaven. And there were some people that were not dressed for the marriage supper.
Yeah.
Well, and you think, and it says, but put them in outer darkness where there'll be weeping and gnashing teeth. And people say, well, that has to be hell. Well, Lord said, and he just started giving me just this download. He said, look, they were there at the marriage supper. They couldn't, so that means they made it to heaven. They had to be born again, but they had done nothing to have word. So they couldn't be at the supper. And then people think, yeah, but it says weeping, gnashing teeth. Okay, there's different versions. You look this up in the Greek and Hebrew. There are certain places where it's absolutely talking about hell. But in this particular setting, and when he's talking about this parable, or telling about at the marriage supper, it's really not a parable, it's just it's truth. And he says that, they were not dressed. So in this, when it says that the weeping and gnashing in outer darkness, well, there's also going to be one last final repentance that the Lord does for us when we go to heaven and we are at the marriage supper. That's when the rewards and lost reward will be handed out to the Christians. And when that happens, there's going to be a lot of weeping, because we're not, some things that we see that we didn't do and we should have done, so we lose reward for, And so that's when it says, I think that's what that means in Revelation, when it says he will wipe away all the tears. Well, there's going to be some crying, because he says it's got to pass the fire. It says he's going to bring his fire, which is a purifying fire. Yeah. Anything that's wood and stubble will be burned up, but the things that are gold and pure will last. Well, see, we're going to know that for an instant. Oh my gosh, this was, and so there'll be probably tears, because it may be someone that didn't make it to heaven because of something we did or didn't do. Things like this, or something we taught or didn't do that he called us to do. So there's going to be tears, and that's like weeping, and it's like a weeping and a gnashing, because you're, oh God, there's just kind of that dreading, and the Lord said that's what that's talking about in those scriptures.
So there's a little remorse that people have, like for their actions or the lack of action.
Yes.
And I think about that. Like, in some people like have brought the question up, like, will we have any memory of what we've done on the earth after we're dead? And it seems to me like with people encountering family members and things like that, of course you're going to have memories of that.
Yeah.
But anyways, I'm just, this is such a beautiful, just encounter that you had. It's just amazing to me that, so you're resisting, which is like so many people that I've heard in near-death experiences. So like my position, real quick, I'll just tell you, is I look for patterns, and I can see like basically a template, like a structure of systematically what happens in near-death experiences. It's like you start off like in your death experience, and it goes into a transition where you're out of body and experiencing the out of body, and then you are being lured away, but you actually, it's weird, like to me, to think that you actually had kind of this choice, the resistance to choose to resist. Yes. So I want that to stand out to people, because I guess when people die, they're going to use the knowledge or the wisdom that they've acquired in the earth while they are living, and for you knew, like, I don't know if it was a gut feeling or whatever, that you've just felt like, I'm going to resist this because it doesn't make sense to me. Or
I didn't trust it. Yes, I didn't trust it. I was a little bit almost like fearful, like, ooh, I'm afraid to follow them. What if I can't find my way back to the room if I don't like where they're going? And it just kind of like, and I kept thinking that, I don't know if that's really my grandpa. for some reason. But see, it's almost like I was just discerning it by the Spirit, but I was, pretty young in the Lord. But still yet. So when I was in heaven, though, if you want me to just finish this part,
Sure.
when he was showing me this, and like I said, so he's saying, and I said, oh my gosh, okay. So, he says over here, out of darkness. Well, because here's the thing, it was that important to him that I go back and work the reward, because he knew what he had planned for me for the future. He knew that he had a call to ministry for me, because my husband and I are in ministry and have been 30 years. And so, I didn't know any of these things back then, but he knew, and he knew what I was going to do. So it was like, nope, there's too many lives and souls. I mean, a lot of the reward is souls as well. I mean, the lives that we'll touch not only get people born again, but have an impact on people's lives, and those that will make heaven and things that they will do because of us, because of each of our lives, and those that were to. So there's more to it, a whole lot to it. And so, it's like, well, I got to chance this, because you got to go back. And he knew, I mean, I always have free will. I could have left the Lord and never, never served him. But it's like, it was so important to him to take that chance, that I'd have the free will, because to get the reward, to make sure you fulfill the plan I have for your life, because it's going to involve a lot of souls. It's going to involve a lot of things. And rather than for me to stay, still get to be in heaven and be in the lost reward place. But I even believe that after you're in heaven, in the lost reward, because I thought, well, God, that seems horrible. Then you just have to stay at that level, and you don't really get to have that position and standing with the Lord that you would have had you worked a reward, because he's known what he could trust you with on the earth, and you're going to walk close with him. Like, it was like that was going to be dark compared to what I was experiencing with him right then, him in front of me. But it was like, no, it was that important that I think, though, in heaven, even though you're in the lost reward, I think over time, because knowledge, the Bible says that it keeps going forever. I mean, knowledge will always increase. Knowledge is forever. It keeps going. And I know that in heaven that you continue to learn and grow and develop. And I think probably in heaven you learn and possibly move up. I know that some people would say that's anti-Bible. Well, not really.
I don't know why it would be.
It says that. It doesn't. It's kind of neutral. But it says knowledge will always. I mean, knowledge will never end.
It's funny.
So
it's funny. Like, I'll hear like some atheists or something try to describe what they believe heaven to be, and it's just somebody just going up there and putting on their little angel wings and just playing harps all day long, and all they do. It's like, oh, that sounds boring. I would never want to be part of that.
Right. No, and like I said, it is a very busy place. I could hear. I mean, there's just like people are doing, going, moving all the time. There's all kinds of things that they're doing in heaven. I think whatever God talents and things that he's given us here, you continue on with those things there. I've even heard of, and you may have too, but some of these people who have had experiences in heaven, who've gone to heaven also, that they saw that some of these, like if they were a builder or whatever, they're still doing those things, but you just do it instantly by thinking you just want this, and it's created instantly. See, I mean, you can keep creating just by, I want to make this, I want this. And so you're just creating things because it's instant. We're outside of time there. There's no time.
You say we are creating?
No, I mean, when people go to heaven, okay, like whatever traits, talents, and abilities you had here on earth, you still have those. And so when you're in heaven, some of the things that God gives you assignments and things that you'll be doing in heaven, besides we're going to be spending time with the Lord, listen to, I think the preaching continues, Paul and all the apostles, and Jesus himself preaches up there in heaven. They're still learning knowledge continuously, because we can exhaust it. The knowledge of God.
It's interesting. It's like the perception that people have is that it's almost more simple when we go into heaven, when in reality it's probably a million times more vast.
Oh yeah,
and,
yes.
Like obviously, yeah. I mean, you can explain probably better than I.
Well, that's all I mean is people. This is what I believe about it. That people continue on with those gifts that they have, but it's just that it doesn't take much to it. They could probably just from the creative part of their mind, just look at and then it just appears. They're just, maybe, I don't know, what I mean. I've heard different people who've gone to heaven. They've had experiences similar, talking about, like someone who was into music, then they'd probably just keep creating music. They because creative is the creative ability is just, it's all over heaven. I mean, we were there with the Creator. So we're made in
Yeah.
His image, and whatever you've had is going to continue on there. But that's why I say, if I'd gone to the place of lost reward, I believe that I would have eventually then moved up, learned more, and grown to more places. Because I think that's why so many times I think when people get to heaven, if you're a babe in Christ, well, you're going to be like in the heavenly kindergarten, so to speak, because you've got to learn from the start now. But what is the learning if it doesn't develop onto more? You can't just keep learning the same thing. So you're going to grow and develop. So I think that there probably is a ranking that you move into as you're in heaven.
Yeah,
So I think
and there's almost like a government system, right? I mean, it talks about priests and kings, and
right. There is a ranking and all. Yes, definitely. And God's a God of order, and everything is just perfectly. Yeah, there's a government. He has laws, spiritual laws, and spiritual laws. He has to do things according to this. So, but anyway, so when he's telling me this, that after he shows me that, and I said, okay. So I'm thinking, okay, I can't stay. I don't want to chance that. I've got to, And he said, I have a word for you. He just tries to emphasize, go back. You'll find it. You'll know. And so I just kind of somewhere that just kind of was the drawing line, and I thought, okay, I'm going to go back. So I chose to myself, as soon as I made the decision, I said, yeah, okay, I'll go back. And his whole face just lit up with the most beautiful smile because he was so pleased that I chose right. And so I thought, okay, I'll do this. So then next thing I know, it was just like he said, okay, go on. I'll see you again. I'll see you later when it's time. So then next thing, I don't really remember the trip back so much, but I do remember coming through just going the opposite direction is different. Going through the tunnel and everything, because I do remember then entering the top of the hospital, the top of the building. And I remember how that looked, the roof of that building, because, it's the same thing. You're coming to a slow descent, coming into the building, and then coming into I think it's like the third floor with the ICU unit. So I'm coming in, and next thing I'm coming, that I just like, I guess the angel of God just guides me back to my room, to my body. And I just I don't know if I sat down. It's like I have these the memories kind of, it's like, did I go through my mouth? Did I enter through my mouth? Did I just get up there and just lay down in my body? I don't know. But I remember getting back in my body. The minute I was back in my body, it was just like a thud, like just from where I had been. Oh my gosh, just like such a sobering thud. And then like the first breath that your body catches, is like tasted like honeysuckle. Just a really sweet taste. It's just transferring from out of your body back into your body. Yes. And then I don't think it was very long after that, because then I'm hearing my dad talk and my brother talk. Then I when my mom was up there too, there were just different times in I could hear them talking, and I remember my dad kept saying to me, drink some water for me, drink some water. Can I be your doctor? Let me be your doctor. He was just trying to all this. And finally, it's like I'm in there and I'm thinking, okay, I'm going to come out now. And I just said, when he asked me, can I be your doctor? I said, yeah. And he said, you want to drink? And it's just like I started talking, and they were just excited, talking. And he says, will you drink some water for me? Kept trying it. So finally I did. So that's when I came out of it. And the next thing, then when my mom's there, I wasn't saying very much to them. Really wasn't close to my dad so much, but he was up there at that time, and that was what was happening. Next thing, then my mother's up there, and we're talking. And then the first thing I start telling her immediately, and she said that's the first thing I just started saying. Oh my gosh, the most beautiful, beautiful colors. There's so many beautiful colors. And I kept talking about, those beautiful flowers. Oh my gosh, flowers like you've never seen. I just kept going on about the beautiful flowers and the beautiful colors. I said, I was still over in heaven. And then I told her about, I said, I saw Grandpa. Told her, that's her dad. And, I was talking about that and telling her, and she just listened, and the other thing Jesus told me too, he said, when I was there, he told me, he said, I want you to write everything down that you've seen and experienced, and I want you to tell people and write it all down. tell everything you've experienced. Well, for a long time, I just thought, and of course, when I got back to my body there, so when I'm finally getting woke up enough, I'm thinking I got to have a pen and paper, because I just thought, just write all this down on a sheet of paper. Never dawned on me that all that time he meant write it in a book. And I still do not have the book finished and completed yet. But it took me many years to get that across. And people were saying, you should write a book. And I think, oh, I don't know about that. That's kind of trying to, like you're trying to draw some kind of big. I just didn't. I was hesitant. But then finally the Lord got it to me. I was reading this book and it was like, gosh, it wasn't that. It was somebody had gone to heaven. It was okay, but I was kind of disappointed because it was like a top seller and it didn't. I thought it was okay, but it wasn't like as much as I expected. And then the Lord instantly, I heard him in my spirit. He said, yes. He said, oh, you had way more experience than that. He said, look how much you could tell. He said, isn't it time to write your book? And it was like, oh, yeah, Betty, book, not just write it down on a letter. So that's just, several years ago. So I'm still writing that. And I will get that completed. But that's what he meant, was to get that in a book for everybody to read. And because, it's all about him. It's all about how wonderful heaven is, how wonderful he is. I just happen to be someone who was privileged to experience this. And God has his purposes and reasons. And it all involves many other people and things besides just myself. So anyway, but it took me a long time to finally put all that together, because for many years I didn't tell anybody. I only told a couple of friends and my mother. I kept it on the shelf because I needed to understand more about it. And I was also, it was just so sacred that I knew a lot of people would think I was crazy. They wouldn't believe me. And how do it's just kind of like this secret thing, like, oh, how do you tell people about this, because I knew it wasn't a dream. I literally left this, that's why I said, Lord, I had to have died. It wasn't just an NDE. I did die. So sure, the Lord's just like an angel's there keeping my body stable while I was go to heaven. But the thing is that I'm thinking, well, I couldn't have been dead long. But he said, it doesn't matter. Time is different here. Because I do remember at some point the nurses and all these things going into me, and I'm trying to pull the tubes out of my arms because I didn't want to. I guess that's how it was when I got back in the body, because somewhere they're like, I'm trying to pull those tubes out, but I couldn't pull them out because spirit can't, operate at something in the natural. And so, so it's like a code blue or something. So I thought, even if I died and this is why I've still got to get my hospital records. I have got to. I never even attempted to do that till years back. And then when I did, they said, well, they didn't have them anymore. After 20 years or something, they did away. And I thought, no, they've got to have them on film somewhere. So that's something. And now I have to have that in my book, that the records of what it really happened. Because I think that even if my heart just stopped, even if it was just a few seconds, a few minutes, and they're in there doing something, well, it doesn't matter because time is different here. Time and eternity, there's no comparison. It could be 2 minutes here and feel like an eternity there. And then some people have had, they were out for an hour, and then the time there still is not the same.
Yeah, I've heard experiences where people are only coding for like a couple minutes, and they come back and feel like they lived a whole lifetime, or were gone like for 1,000 years or something like that.
Exactly. I used to say that sometimes it seemed like 3 or 4 hours, and I thought, oh no, this is much longer than that. It's like you're there for a lifetime, like you had been there for months, because so much is put into you in just that, all that whole experience that you go through. You receive so much more is downloaded into you. The experience itself is like it's timeless.
Yeah.
I don't explain it. It's like another lifetime, and then it just takes you many years and a long time to get to bring it all out and to sort it out, to tell people, to even understand, to assimilate. There's the word I'm looking for. To assimilate everything that's happened inside of your mind, to get it straight and understand. And it's like in time capsule, though. Things come out more and more because I realize things over time. Because I'll think, sometimes even I've been like reading or listening to someone's testimony of going to heaven. I'll think they'll mention something. I say, oh, that's right. I remember that, So it quickens it, because it's like because it's all this is in your spirit, because everything that I experienced in heaven is stored in my spirit. But boy, getting all that out into my mind. And so, but it does happen over time, and praying in tongues, praying in the spirit is also one of the keys that does that. And that's like I say, the more I pray in the spirit about, so many times the illumination comes, and more understanding on why this and this part of the conversation that I had with the Lord.
So you're kind of like awakening the information that you have not yet recalled, I guess. I mean, maybe if you're not just maybe not so much recalling, but maybe having some sort of just insight or intuition on the information you actually acquired while you're there. I mean, this is the same thing Sharon Milliman was saying. She basically said that she didn't just have all the information when she came back. It kind of trickled. It trickled in over time. And
yes. It's an unfolding over time. It's like in a time capsule time released. And periodically more comes to you and more understanding. See, just like for a long time, I've always wondered, and this is kind of what kicked off conversation with me and the Lord. I was thinking, I wonder why, what was the thing about me eating the fruit? I was just thinking, was I just hungry or what? Of course, he invited me over there to eat it, but I was thinking, so what's up with the fruit thing? And then it was like, Betty, and then it started, you were not spiritually strong enough. And I thought, that's right, because then I got strong after I ate that. See, it just hadn't put it together. Because for one thing, for many years before I committed my life, and there was a good stretch of years before I absolutely sold out completely. I mean, I said, okay, God, I'm going to live for you 100% all the way. I'm going with you, and I know there's a call, and I've got to fulfill it, and I want to. Okay, there's many years. So for many years, I kept that on the shelf and only shared it with a few friends. So it wasn't like something I dabbled with or always thought about and tried to figure it all out either. I just kind of put it on the shelf like, I'll get to, because it did not fit. It was not the thing that was dominating my life at the time. I was working and just, living my own life and being single and just kind of doing my own thing. So it wasn't something I was majoring on, but I always knew it was, it's for the future. I was going to do this. I was going to sell out to God all the way. So, but go ahead.
Sorry. I have a listener that asked a question that you might know the answer to from Maria Ashby. Did you see God, the Eternal Father, and what did he look like?
I do not remember. And see, sometimes I'm so hesitant about saying definite because it's funny because I have vague remembrance of seeing the throne and all these things. So I think I was just seeing it from in the city there looking and like seeing, I knew that God was in God the Father, but I do not remember, no, separate from Jesus, like just encounter with God the Father on the throne, no. But
yeah. No, that's interesting. So, gosh, I mean, I wanna really contrast and unpack something real quick. Considering we have about 45 minutes plus or minus. Now, it's an important topic to me because I feel like there's so many different ways you can interpret all this information, and so many different experiences that people have, and we are in a realm, so to speak, where we are. Sorry, I heard something over here. So we're in a realm kind of that, we are getting. Sorry, I'm so distracted because my wife, I think she was yelling at the dogs or something. But yeah, so this is the deception. This is the thing I wanted to get at. So I feel like we are kind of in a place where, like with Adam and Eve or something, they were, taken out of the Garden of Eden, and then they were given the knowledge of good and evil. It kind of reminds me of them leaving paradise where you were, and they actually came into this realm and basically have the knowledge of good and evil now. Now, granted, you probably had the knowledge of good and evil in the sense that you knew what it was, but I don't know. What are your thoughts as far as good and evil when you're in this place of paradise?
Yeah, I did. I knew good. It's like I did know good and evil because, see, I felt kind of embarrassed a little bit when I was standing with Jesus because I knew I'd been out that night disobeying my parents. They didn't really want me to go with this guy, and I was with a friend. So, see, I wasn't exactly living up to the part. And I did feel, I knew that was wrong. Especially standing there with Jesus in his presence. Everything is illuminated. There's no question. I mean, this is all good and wonderful, but anything contrary to that, instantly. So that's why I felt just a little bit unworthy. But yet his love and compassion just overwhelmed me, because like he's going through my life, like in other words, I know your whole life. I've been there. I mean, I can show you, So there's nothing hidden that's not known here. And so just receive my love. I want to reveal to you how wonderful and how great and how much I love you. And when you receive that love like that, I mean, it is just powerful, life-changing. I mean, I have never felt, it's like every answer, every desire, every wish that you could ever, every question, it was in his eyes. I was just mesmerized. His eyes are just glorious. His hair in the glory realm looked white, but when he would turn, I see the natural side of him, brown hair, long beard,
Yeah, it's almost like his hair is emitting light or something, so it appears to be white. I don't know.
Yeah, well, the glory on him, the glory that's on him, because he emanates light everywhere. His eyes are like shafts of light; they just rays of light. But yet, I can see the natural part, because he's man and God. But he's in his glory. He's in his glorified body in heaven.
Yeah. So I don't want to change the subject, but I do want to definitely ask a few questions. So based on the fact that we have kind of heaven is vast. I mean, it's not simple. A lot of people have that perception of heaven, but and I'm going to say that Brian Melvin says that hell is vast. Also, there's a government system that's in heaven, and there's a government system in hell to some degree. And now, and again, I'm only kind of speaking from the perspectives of other people's experience. Like you had your experience, and I could share your experience with somebody else and say, yeah, this is what Betty went through. But again, I'm kind of just going based on what other people are saying. And my thing is, I'm trying to unravel the mysteries. As you may well know, my show is called Contemplating the Cosmos, because I'm trying to unravel the mysteries in a lot of ways. And we have a few things to go on with, I think near-death experiences, people get a glimpse, and they can come back and share with other people. And unfortunately, I don't feel like a lot of people are going out of their way to try to, unravel these mysteries, or try to gather as much information as they can. I think that I was talking this on a live stream earlier, and somebody had mentioned that there's like kind of a switch that flips on in your brain. Like there's some people that are just not wired to care, but there's other people that switch flips on, and they're just like, that's all they care about is trying to, understand just why we're here and things like that. Now, you and I can relate in the area of having a Christian background. I do deal a lot with others outside of that thought process as well, because because near-death experiences are vast, and they kind of go across the board. It's not just a Christian experiences or whatever. Now, but the thing that I'm trying to figure out, and this is why I want people to understand near-death experiences and the contrast between truth and deception. Forgive me for like ranting for a second. I actually feel like there's a direction I want to go with this, because I feel like truth and deception are something we're trying to, figure out here, and I feel like a lot of people are so, gung-ho to just embrace whatever it is that they're presented. And, I feel like there's a darkness that is actually in control of our realm, and the way I see it.
Absolutely.
And not just darkness. I'm talking about like an evil government system that is.
Absolutely. May I just say this? Of course, I know I refer to the Bible a lot because I believe it's the absolute true Word of God. And I've seen, like I said, when I got back from heaven, I was reading all these things. I said, oh my gosh, when I committed my life, I just cried and cried because I realized I could appreciate standing in front of Jesus in heaven so much more, because then I began to know him by the Spirit and his word. And it's like, oh my gosh, Jesus, this is just like in heaven. This is just, now I have known him so much better now than I knew him when I stood in front of me. So I was going to say, but the Bible says Satan is the god of this world.
Mm-hmm.
He is the god of this world. Now, God is the God of Christians those that we give our lives to him. Our lives belong to him, but we're not of this world, but we're in this world. But this world is Satan, and yes, and it even talks about in Revelation in places that Satan, there's demonic spirits that are going to be released and unleashed on the earth in the last days, and we're seeing it. I think big time. I think we are in the end of the last days right now with what's going on the earth and the demonic realm, like you say, evil. I mean, however people want to say it, but that's why I believe it. According to, that there's a God and there's Satan, and Satan has angels, demonic angels, and God has his angels. And this is.
Do you believe these are the same entities that were trying to distract you away when you were transitioning? So,
Yeah.
Yeah.
I believe they were demons, definitely demons. They were, because see, demons. I know people believe different on this, but what I believe, that these are familiar spirits. Familiar spirits, they can impersonate your relatives or anyone. But they're demons. They say, oh, that was my sister. No. They can look just like anybody. They can sound like them, because Satan is a master of deception, and they're very deceptive. That's why they call them familiar spirits, meaning related to family. That comes from the word family. Out the family, they're familiar with your life, your family. They will, they were then like this is my relative, my grandpa, and they're trained to be like, oh, we're friendly. This is your grandpa and all his friends. Didn't make sense, but I'm glad I resisted it. But anyway, go ahead, keep your.
So and I'm trying to be strategic about my approach to this other thing that I've been thinking about. So basically, we're here for a reason, I believe. We're here to draw people to the Lord, in my opinion. Now, I feel like we are given like rights, I guess you could say, the right of life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness, as our forefathers have described. And so we are going through a lot of changes in the world right now. And, we are both Bible believing Christians. And I believe that there's a lot of signs that are kind of pointing to this end times type scenario. And I feel like judgment is imminent. And I feel like we're approaching that quickly.
Go ahead and finish your thought. I was just going to say something, but go ahead.
No, I want you to kind of give your thoughts.
Okay, I was just going to say the only thing, and I know what you're saying exactly, because that's obvious. We can see how all this evil that's breaking out. Well, the Bible talks about how bad it will get in the end times, and that's definitely a fact. Well, the only thing about the judgment, and I say as far as judgment from the Lord, all judgment was laid on Jesus at the cross. So gotcha. He took all of our judgment as far as that. But now he will come back with his wrath after the church is gone, and he's going to fight the enemy. I mean, the Armageddon. Okay. So we know that's coming. But I see what you're saying. Yes. I just want to clarify that for what I believe on that, because, all people saying, well, God's bringing judgment. Well, no, he's not. Jesus took all of our judgment. But if you're a Christian, judgment, we don't have that coming to us. Now, the wrath of the enemy, the people that are not born again, and all the evil, they're going to be dealt with severely, because there is the wrath side of God. And that's where the talks about the 7 years of tribulation and the Armageddon. So I think we're right into the beginning of sorrows right before the tribulation. And some people think we're read into part of that, whatever. But, I know we can't be here for the wrath because we're not appointed to wrath. And it talks about it in 1 Thessalonians and 2 Thessalonians. We cannot be here when the wrath is poured out, because God's pattern all throughout the Bible, he always takes care of his own and removes and protects his people. But I see what you're saying. Yes, the evil things, it is totally demonic. And I mean, it's you know the scripture where it talks about because they refuse the truth, because they refuse to believe the truth and be saved, that God gives them a spirit of delusion, so that they'll
Yeah.
believe the lie. We're seeing that big time too.
Yes.
Yes.
So that I feel like is an epidemic as far as people's inability to see a deception for when it's right in front of their face, in my opinion.
Yes.
And
Blindness. I know what you're saying. Like the blindness, you think, how can they not see this? Exactly. Yeah, I follow
yeah,
you.
and no, I will say also that I talk a lot about the philosophy of interpretation, because there's a lot of people that will interpret one thing one way, and then that same little bit of information somebody else will interpret a completely different way, and because I've always been in that debate, like the creation versus evolution debate. It's like they take the scientific evidence and then they interpret it whatever way they want to believe. Uh, anyways, forgive me. I didn't realize I was going to
That's
really
okay.
venture down this
That's
road.
okay. That's okay. I was just going to say, yeah, I think actually, though, when you really study it out, because there's a lot of scientists who used to be atheists who are now Christians, science and creation, I mean, science really backs up the truth of the Bible, the truth of creation and God. They support each other when you get it right. And I mean, I'm just saying, it depends on what sources you're listening to, but I've heard those and listened to them. So really, science kind of confirms the Bible and creation. It does confirm it.
Yeah,
But yeah, I know what you're saying. The two, it's like the evolution. But anyway, that's a different. But I was just want to make sure that I told. I told about making sure I didn't forget something about the heaven thing. Of course, I've told this before, but anyway. But then, like I said, yes, and there was a difference. The thing I think that what you wanted to at some point talking about, because you start off with this about the difference, like after the experience and what it made a difference. It is true. I was very, very sensitive. Colors and everything just overwhelmed me because I'd been standing in the presence of glory, and it just took a while for that to wear off. It was like I was more over there still in heaven than I was here. And I kept saying it seemed like over time then it kind of faded. Well, it really didn't fade. I just realized I adapted to it. I adjusted to it, because you can't change what it didn't leave. But you learned, and I learned. But when I came back, I knew it was like I knew something had been imparted to me spiritually, and no doubt, how could it not be? That's why you hear. But for a long time, because I would be around people and things, and I was too ultra sensitive to the spirit realm, so ultra sensitive that it was uncomfortable. I did not start going to church and committing and all this yet. I was still doing my own thing. I'd get around people, and I could feel things. I could tell. I mean, sometimes my skin would crawl. I could feel this evil on someone. My discernment was very sharp. I could know things about people. I could know what was going on in their lives. I think, how do I know this? How can I know that? And I didn't like it, because what am I going to do with it? I didn't know what to do. It felt scary. But see, Satan, because I had not committed my life all the way to God yet, and that left the door. It's horrible to have power, to be aware of this power, but you're not protected by God yet, because my life hadn't been surrendered to Him yet. So Satan came and tried to give me experiences. He wanted to wipe out my experience in heaven and take that and get me on his path, of course, because he went after me for years there. And I would have these feelings where I would just like go off in a trance. I'd go off in the spirits like I couldn't get back. And I think, I'm like over there. I can't seem to stay here. I can't stay here. It was very uncomfortable for a few years. Then when I finally gave my life completely to God, the best thing ever did. Because then it's like all of a sudden, okay, now I'm in safe territory. I'm protected. No more of these satanic things trying to mess with me in the spirit realm. So because I had a taste of that, and it was horrible. Then as I got baptized in the Holy Spirit, then that activated the gifts of the Spirit to begin to be, I was used in that. And then all these things, it's like I'm used in the word of knowledge, prophecy, and all these things. Well, that's where you know things by the Spirit. But see, I'm protected with God. No more Satan can come in. He can't. So it's wonderful. But it's true. There's an impartation. It's like once you are in the spirit realm, you are so, everything is heightened spiritually. And you can't help it, because it just happened. Even though you try not to, so you've tapped into that realm. And I just get to talking to people. all of a sudden I could just get way out there, and I'd be telling some things. I said, I just know this and that. They said, man, how do you know that? And I'd say, I honestly don't know, but I know it's true. Well, see, I was tapping in that spirit realm, a lot of those things that the Lord had shown me, that just from being in that, from the impartation and being in heaven. You understand? Spiritual, eternal things. But I did not understand it because my life was not, and it was scary. It was scary. See, that's why I felt fear, because I was, like the Bible says, there's many spirits out there. Every spirit, just because it's supernatural, doesn't mean it's from God. There's a lot of
Yeah.
supernatural things that are not from God, and they're very dangerous. And I looked, and because I remember Mother would tell me, she'd say, just start saying the name of Jesus, because I'd say, oh, I've got this feeling. It's like I was in a trance. I couldn't come out of it, and I couldn't concentrate. I felt like I was halfway, and so I just kept saying the name of Jesus, and that wouldn't drive it off. But when I committed my life completely, I was in the safety and protection of God now, and none of these spirits can come in, because my life belongs to Him. And I'm saying, when I hear about these people who've gone to heaven, and they come back saying, well, now they have psychic power and all this, no, that tells me the devil's going to try to use that power and take it for his kingdom, because everything God has, Satan has a counterfeit.
Yeah.
But the real and the true and the safe is what God has. God has all the power, the gifts of the Spirit. No, and you can operate in these things under the protection and safety of God's domain in His kingdom, because Satan has a kingdom too, and psychics and all these things. Those are just the counterfeits, and they all lead to death. Very dangerous.
That's kind of the thing that I was thinking about, because it seems to me like there has been contradictory things that have come back from near-death experiences. And when I say contradictory, I mean from what the Bible's actually saying. And and it said don't entertain familiar spirits. And well, it seems like that's the kind of thing that's happening a lot.
Right.
And or don't practice in these practices of Baal and things like that, or whatever,
Exactly, and do not be communicating with the dead. People say, oh, I talked to my sister's seance. No, that's just a familiar spirit who's an expert at imitating your sister. That's all. And so you have to say, no, I reject that, because the Bible calls that necromancy, and it's a sin.
Yeah.
And so
this is the kind of thing that I want people to realize, because again, these are experiences that people are having. I'm not trying to take away from that, but I do feel like you have to be mindful and discerning of the spirits. You have to, and the Bible warns you of that, to be mindful and discerning of the spirits. You have to be able to, and if you're not operating under the shadow of His wings, so to speak, you're going to probably be exposed in this outer darkness. And
exactly. And go ahead. I'm sorry.
No, I mean, honestly, I that's kind of the thing that I want a lot of people to realize about near-death experiences, is sometimes I feel, and again, I've kind of been wishy-washy in my understanding, because sometimes I feel like, maybe, there's just too much information to know everything. And you just have to kind of settle into a little niche or something, and then just kind of, like Christianity you might call a little niche of understanding. And I'm feeling like, Jesus was an example of what we are kind of are able or capable of becoming. So like, you're going to do greater. You're going to do greater and mightier things in my name, or whatever.
Right. So, right. Like the greater works. Yes, exactly. And He was our example. We're joint heirs with Christ according to the Bible, and He is our elder brother. He's our Savior, our Lord. When you're a Christian, but He's the way, the truth, and the life, and He will not lead us. He will lead us into all truth, and He'll protect us. Just the protection alone, because there are so many spirits out there. There's so many counterfeits, and people are hungry. This is the thing. People are so hungry spiritually, and so they really have good intentions. They're trying to find truth, and they want to have power, and they know there's so much more available, and they want into it, but they get on the wrong paths because they already know, no, God and Bible, I don't want any of that. They don't understand that's where it's all at. that's where the true and the real is, and the safety. But there's so much more in God that's available that a lot of times people do not know it's available. So they go to the psychics and all these other things because they're looking, they're hungry. But God recognizes that hunger, and I believe He will, if they keep hungering, and He will lead them and draw them to Him. You know, you get laborers across their path and things. So because He knows the hunger and their intention of their heart is correct. But
Yeah,
Satan,
and this is the spiritual, discernment that we should have. But I believe that even, just operating in our own reality here, like on Earth, I feel like that same discernment needs to be utilized when it comes to just the things that are happening in the world. I feel like, to just, thrust ourselves prostrate before the government that's trying to change everything that we know. I feel like, I think that there's a sense of responsibility that we have. And I believe we
absolutely, to stand up and fight. Yes, I agree. Go ahead.
Yeah, I don't. Okay, and forgive me. I actually am very biased on this topic because I feel like so like this discerning spirit. I feel like I've been given a little bit of a discernment on this, and I feel like I've considered a lot more of the angles than a lot of people, and I feel like we're venturing down a path. Now, granted, I need to back off from some of this sometimes because I feel like I think I messaged to you on that little thread on Facebook that I've had 6 videos deleted because I was talking about information that was basically showing the the malevolent nature of like the government and the social media and all that. They're basically trying to control the narrative, and I'm feeling like people are just kind of settled in and they don't care. They're apathetic, and or they do care, but they're going to fight the people that are resisting. Anyways,
yeah, well, if I could just say, it's deception. To me, it's deception at its finest. I mean, the deception and the blindness is overwhelming. It's like you think, oh my God, this is horrible. That so many are, there are a lot of people that are seeing what's going on, but there are a lot that are not. They're just following along like blind sheep, not questioning, not thinking, wait a minute, this doesn't make sense, Yeah. Is that what you're saying?
Yeah. And, I didn't really want to get into this topic that much because I know it's hard to really transition from near-death experience to talking about like politics or something. But I'm saying that I feel like the nature of a deceptive spirit actually has gotten into where we're at in this realm.
Yes, exactly. Well, the thing is, what I believe, like I said, if I may say, the deception, people have bought the lie. There is so much lying and evil. It's like this. People do not want to look at it because they cannot believe that it is as bad as that it really is as bad as it is. It's hard for them to comprehend that. They think, oh no, it can't be that. No, because they're trusting the wrong people. If everyone knew and realized how much evil is really working behind the scenes in this, it would blow them away. But the Bible already outlined and talked about that, how bad it would get, that even the very elect could be deceived. So coming from the biblical, but you understand. So, but go ahead. I mean, it's. I was trying to think if as far as my heaven thing, I think I covered. Well, I guess that was pretty much it. I would just want to make sure I got all that in there. Of everything that I wanted to tell.
I was hoping to do a little Q&A here. There's a lot of questions. There's a lot of questions that have been popping up in the chat, and I've pretty much ignored them so that we can keep talking.
Yeah.
And I'm gonna go back a little bit. Let's see here. And again, if there's anything you want to just kind of finish, unpacking a little bit, we can definitely do that. But so somebody was asking about animals. Did you see any animals in heaven? Or or do animals have any kind of spirit that goes from earth to heaven or something?
Well, I think animals do go to heaven. And
Yeah.
I know there's animals in heaven because it talks about in the Bible there's horses in heaven. We know that Jesus is coming back on a white horse, and there's the saints are gonna come with him on horses. So, but I know people. I've been asked this before, and I remember how I seem like I've just said no. I don't remember seeing any animals. Well, I don't remember seeing a bunch of cats and dogs or anything like that, but I saw creatures. But I couldn't discern because everything in heaven seems like they're half. They almost seem like human because they're half. They have consciousness. They talk to you. They, it's like I saw rabbits, I saw birds, I saw butterflies. So I did see these things, but they were just all swarming, moving, beautiful part of the paradise. So I just did not major on those things. But as far as any animals, like seeing a whole bunch that stood out to me, no, I don't remember that. But I know people who have seen animals there.
Yeah.
And I do believe definitely that our pets go there. And people have said, see, I didn't have a pet at the time this happened to me. So I didn't have like any particular animal would be waiting for me there. Because I think if I had, he probably would have been right there.
Yeah. No,
I experienced that. So
I agree. There's been enough near-death experiences that I've heard that actually say that anything that really has life connects back to God. And now, as far as I guess this person Ingsoc says the government system in hell is headed up by Cenobites. I don't know what that means.
Cenobites?
Yeah, I don't know what that is. But anyways, let's see. Maria says the desire to know about God is a gift from God. He gives when he creates you. Not everyone gets that gift. Huh.
Oh, well, I think we all have a chance to know God. We're his creation, and everybody wants to know him. Deep down, we all have he made us in his image. So some people are just more key and more aware of it than others. Some people go their whole life and then don't really come to that conclusion until later. I think it's in all of us.
I have a theory, and so I guess another question that somebody had asked that I skipped over a little while back, but they had said something. When somebody has an encounter with Jesus in this outer darkness, where let's say Howard Storm, he was being attacked by these beings, and then he said, or this voice came to him that said, "Cry out or call out to Jesus." And he was an atheist or whatever, and it's like, but he was saved in that place, and it reminds me of the capacity that Jesus might have, that even in our transition, he'll give us an opportunity to call out to him.
Absolutely. There's always yes. I've known a minister, Kenneth Hagin. He had when he was young, and he had all these diseases. Anyway, when he was dying, of course, he had a ministry and everything. It's awesome. But when he was young, he had 3 trips to hell. And during the last time, he got Jesus, he'd cry out to Jesus, and he'd pull him out. And that last time, he was coming back to his body, and he started right in. Before then, he's saying, "Look, God, I've been to Sunday school, I've done all this." And then the third time, it's like, "Okay, Lord, I give you my life. I've received Jesus, my Lord." So he got it right. He got saved coming up from hell. So right there in the spirit world, he got born again. And by the time he got back to his body, he said, "Okay, I don't mind to die now. I'm right with God. I'm born again." Well, then God totally healed him, and he gave him a wonderful ministry that's covered this world.
Yeah. Maria said something pretty good. It says, Jesus wants us to do his divine will. This will counteract Satan. I totally agree with that.
Yeah, agree.
And then familiar demons. Joey Roca says Jesus is king.
Yeah.
If anybody that's still listening, if you have any more questions, I don't know, Betty, if you're okay with doing some Q&A here, or just interacting with the chat. Now, let's see. What is this? Philos is the worst demon. I don't even know what you're talking about. The headless destroyer.
It's like supposed to be a name of a demon, the headless destroyer. Must have been
Yeah,
maybe in a movie or something. Sounds like a
Ingsoc.
name of one in the movie.
If you Ingsoc, if you are still with us, let me know what you're talking about, because I know, or where you actually read about Ecapholos. I don't even know.
Keepers. Like,
So
thing
I
is,
mean,
Satan.
there's some interesting writings that people reference things like this, and I don't really know what is authoritative on that kind of stuff. So somebody had mentioned Deuteronomy 25:11 through 1. I don't know what that is off the top of my head. Bama says atheists have had NDEs and met Jesus and came back saved. Does he give everyone a second chance? That's actually the one that I pass over. So I do. I kind of get the feeling that, you know, people are so stuck in their pride and so stuck in their arrogance and so stuck in hypocrisy that I don't think that those are compatible traits that you can have when it comes to God. And I think that the people that are lost in outer darkness are the ones that are that have resisted God, in my opinion.
Yeah. God is light. God is all light, and Satan is darkness. I mean, there is no light and there's no darkness in God at all. So yes, I mean, that's my.
Yeah. Was there a sun that was observable in heaven?
Is there a son that was observed? No. This is the thing.
God,
Jesus is the. I mean, just like the Bible says, He's the light of the world. He is the light. I mean, everything is lit up with the glory of God. Everything is bright, but it's beautiful, and it's like it's soft. It's everything feels warm, like the perfect temperature. Everything is just glorious. It's just a paradise. But I remember seeing like blue and the pretty, just like the sky. So I don't know. You know, I didn't really look exactly up, but I think it seemed like, I don't know. There maybe not. Maybe it wasn't like the sky, but everything is just lit up bright. Everything is. There's no shadows. Everything is perfect. But I just believe, like the Bible says, that He's the light. Jesus is the light. He lights up everything, and He is the light of heaven. It says in the Bible, we'll need no sun because He is the sun.
yeah,
He is the light provided. So
yeah, it says that in the Book of Revelation at the end.
exactly.
Man, there's all this stuff. Anyways, I'll just move on here. Jillian says, could you describe what the chariot looked like, the one that ushered you into heaven?
I not really, except because I couldn't. You know, I just felt it's like an invisible, like if like it was just invisible. So it was just like a craft, almost like you think like just an invisible glass thing around you. It's what you, but it wasn't glass. You know, it was just a shield because it's in the spirit realm. I couldn't see it. I think if anyone looked, they'd just look like I was going through space by myself, looking in the natural. But in the spirit world, so I didn't see any chariot like a, you know, I can only just try to imagine what it. I was like a cat. It's like I was inside a capsule being shot off into another dimension, another world.
Have you ever seen the movie?
So fast, and I felt like my skin would have peeled off. I was like, "Wow, this is faster than the speed of light."
Okay, well, two questions real quick.
Yes. Okay.
Did you ever see the movie Contact? The alien.
That sounds familiar. That sounds familiar. Was Jodie Foster in that?
Yes. Yep.
Okay. I kind of remember that. But I can't. Someone have to refresh my memory on exactly what that was.
So basically, she was a radio frequency analyst or something like that. Whenever there was any frequencies that were coming out of the heavens, there was these radio telescope or whatever. They were receiving like this weird like thing that was like emitting from space, and they're like, oh my gosh, we are getting some sort of extraterrestrial communication or whatever. And so they ended up figuring out how that it was like some sort of like blueprint or something for like this this traveling like teleportation device or something like that. And so basically, the reason I bring this up is number one, did this chariot seem like there was technology involved, or was it kind of like that little pod that she was in, where she was kind of like floating in space?
It's funny, I can't really remember that part of the movie. I remember, but it's been a while since I've seen it. So this seemed to be like the highest technology there could ever be, because it was like I would say, I mean, you couldn't even see it. It was like invisible. It was just like a clear invisible shield around me. I was like in a tube almost. So there wasn't any, I didn't, when you're going fast speed, I'm just knowing that something is holding me, keeping me going exactly where I need to go. So I just that's just my interpretation, saying it was like a heavenly chariot. The reason I chose and believe that that's how it's come to me that it was, is because it talks about in the Bible that, when Elijah and Elisha, Elijah was taken off in the chariot. Well, we know the chariot, the Bible talks about chariots. So that's always seems to be God's container when he takes you out of this world. So that's why I refer to it as that.
Yeah. Interesting. There's about 5 minutes before we hit 2 hours, and I don't know how you're doing on time, but if you are okay with it, maybe God sent, or Jesus sent you back for a reason, and I feel like you've been trying to get that figured out since you've been back. You've been in ministry. You've awakened the gifts of the Spirit in your life. And I feel like there's something that you might actually consider your purpose for why you're here. Is there something that you want to kind of say to wrap up your near-death experience and the purpose for why you're back, I guess?
Well, I think, like I said, because he knew that I was going to go into ministry, and I think it's to fulfill God's call in my life, which involves, and it's just where any of us could be the same thing. I mean, I'm not elevating myself at all, because everyone has a call. God has a specific call in everyone's life, and they're to reach specific individuals and affect certain things in this life. So I think, that was my main purpose, was to come back, and it really was, of course, to help tell my heaven testimony and put it in a book. But that isn't the whole thing. The whole reason for that was just kind of like that was how he got all this across to me through my trip to heaven. But it was because he had called me to ministry. And so the ministry that my husband and I are both in, we hold Holy Ghost meetings, and we teach the walk of the Spirit, the walk of power, and things that the Lord has shown us. We just teach the Bible, but we're also evangelistic and prophetic. So we've seen some awesome things, and we've seen a lot of miracles, cancer healed, all kinds of things happen. Ears open, sugar diabetes gone, healed from hernias, just all kinds. I'm just saying, and paralyzation, started walking. So we've seen, and God does it all. What I'm saying, he has used me, or me and my husband both, but he is, because of the ministry that he's had for us. And I know that we're not even, and I think this end time, the days that we're in right now, my spirit has been on high alert ever since all this thing really. I knew way back there I was going to be part of an end time army of God. I knew that before I'd ever committed my life, several years. It was like I was talking to the friend. I said, I don't know. I know I'm going to be living for God pretty soon, a few years, and I'm going to be part of this big, huge army for God in the end times. I just knew that. And so I think, and I thought back then it seemed so far away. And it's like, I don't know what that's about, but I just know I'm going to be part of an army. I didn't even know that was in the Bible. Well, then anyway, when I read that, so I think this end time, besides, of course, ministry and all, God wants all of us to surrender our lives to him and to witness and to tell people about him, because he wants to enlarge his family. and where we will live forever with him in all glory, because we're going to rule and reign on this earth with him for 1,000 years. And then he'll create a new heaven, new earth. If you follow the line in Revelation, the prophetic things that are to happen. But I think even these end times, and it's maybe, because I know even of what we've been doing, my husband and I, we've not near come to the place where he's going to take us. So I don't know. I just know it has to do with winning a lot of souls and winning a lot, and just, I think a good portion of us, of the body of Christ, we're going to be operating in great signs and wonders. And it's all his power. We make ourselves available and say, Lord, use me. I'll do it. And so we have to be sold out to him for truth and not be afraid to step out. And so I think even these end times that we're in right now, this could be part of it, because I felt like, oh man, I am made for this hour. I've been feeling this kind of a intensity, and I know I speak for a lot of people, because a lot of people have. I think a lot of Christians are feeling this way. It's like, oh my gosh, we've got to really stand firm on this, because we can see what's going on spiritually. You're seeing all this played out. It's like, oh my gosh, this is Antichrist spirit taking over the earth. It is. And the Bible says in 1 John that the Antichrist spirit, we must test all the spirits, because many spirits have gone out. Well, this is totally anti-God. I want to shut down churches and all these things. Tell me, the coronavirus first hit, when I even heard that on the news, it's like, boy, my spirit, I was like, when I said, oh, okay, this is just a ploy to come against Trump because he didn't get impeached. I knew it instantly. Then when they started saying everything's shut down, and really, I think that is true. Then when they started churches shut down, everything, the whole world shutting down churches, I said, oh no, this is to shut the church. This is Antichrist spirit. This is the rise of it. And that's exactly what's doing.
That's where my thoughts kind of went on high alert too, because our church has not met since like March, and we had little live streams and stuff on. But to be honest with you, I feel like fellowship says it's wherever two or more are gathered.
Yeah. Exactly. Right. I follow you. Let me just say that is true, because we are the church people. We're the church, the body of Christ. But Jesus did say, he's called us to assemble together. He says, don't forsake the assembling of together, especially as you see that day approaching. And we're at that day. I think we're close to that day. So all the more so we're supposed to be, because there's power in unity. There's power when we come together. So we still need that too.
I believe when you say the word power, that is actually not just this figurative spiritual thing. I'm talking like the real power of like electricity that is literally when you take electrically charged things and bring them together, it just amplifies, and it sparks, and it makes me think that as we are separated, we are losing that electrical charge, I guess. And
there you go. That's exactly what Satan knows. That's why he's doing this. He knows there's power in unity. Go ahead.
So in a lot of ways, forgive me for saying, but I'm getting pissed off that we are so willing to lay down for this. I feel like, so I've been actively, pushing back through YouTube and a lot of things, but honestly, I can see when people will start, like, when they talk about bowing the knee to Baal or something, it kind of makes me think, you're willing to just give up. And I think in a lot of ways that for me, I'm going to bow down to Baal. I don't want to.
Yeah. Right. I follow you. I feel the same way. There's no way I'm bowing to this. That's why it's because those of us that are spiritually discerning what's going on, we have a responsibility as followers of Christ, as followers of Jesus, to do what's right and to stand against these entities. Because there's, and to me, it says that you come to a place when the government or anything gives you an order that violates the Bible. Guess who we have to believe? We have to follow God. we obey man or obey God? We obey
It's
God.
happening.
So I mean, I'm thinking,
It's
trying to think of ways to get people born again in jail. I mean, seriously,
I think that we are starting to violate what the Bible is saying.
Say that again. You what?
And I'm saying that I think that we are violating what the Bible is saying.
Oh, absolutely.
By not.
Not we, but they are what they're trying to put out here. Yeah.
So let me ask you. It sounds to me like you're charismatic. Are you part of like a denomination like Assembly of God or anything like that, or?
No, not non-denominational, full gospel, charismatic. Yes, that's what I am. Where we believe in all the gifts of the Holy Spirit and the Holy Spirit, the power and miracles and healings and prophecy, word of knowledge, word of wisdom, all the gifts of the Holy Spirit. Yes, and we
Yeah.
believe in letting the Holy Spirit do as the Holy Spirit. I always say they're His services. We're going to flow with Him. We cooperate with Him and see what He wants to do, meeting people's needs and preaching the word. Go ahead.
That's exactly what I think church should be. It shouldn't just be this structured like it has to be on a schedule and it has to be. But I don't know. There's all these.
That's legalistic a lot of times. Yeah, so legalistic, like God is going to be so, callous that He would be upset over things that's crazy. Yeah, I see what you're saying.
Yeah, I don't know, Betty. I'm glad we were able to touch on all this stuff, and honestly, it's been a huge blessing that you even were willing to come on to my show here, and I'm just a little. Yeah, I'm trying to do kind of what I can. And, this near-death experience topic has been very predominant in my research and trying to understand. And, but I also talk about, the deceptions and the conspiracies and things like that I feel like people are trying to ignore because it becomes so taboo. And it's like, you know what? We're here to defend what God has given us. And I believe that as we lose freedom, we're going to actually lose our rights to pursue God.
I totally agree. I'm sorry.
So,
go ahead. I'm saying.
No, you're good. But, I think at this point, I appreciate that you're willing to speak out, like even on your Facebook posts and things like that. And, are you guys are you still assembling? Are you still operating? Are you the church organizers or like pastors or whatever?
Are you asking me? Am I what?
Yeah. Are you the guys that planted the church, or are you are you part of a church?
Oh no, we're not pastors. In a way, we've pastored though. We've held. We're not doing these now. Although we're going to our backyard. The Lord instructed us to have open air meetings out back here, and I'm going to have a First Amendment sign out there because we're totally within our legal rights and everything to do this. Hey, we can't be at churches. I'm not wearing the mask. I'm not going to submit to that spirit because it's totally demonic. It's witchcraft and antichrist, and so I'm not going to submit to that. This whole thing has been so blown up out of proportions, and anyway. But we've pastored groups. We had for like 14 years Holy Ghost meetings here in our town at a central place, and so we did kind of have regulars. So we more or less pastored a group, So we've done that, but we go to different churches and we come in as special guests and we preach there and minister and pray for the sick, and we have a ministry of pretty much of healing too. And I mean, sometimes it'll just be a healing night. That's the way the Lord orchestrates it. So, yeah. But no, we don't. With our church, we have a church. It's actually in Tulsa, which is an hour and a half from here. We've been going to that for like 20-something years, but here lately we have not, because the Lord said to continue with having church here. We're going to be having our own church here in our backyard patio, and all of the people that have come before, and I'll be posting that and everything, and people are welcome that live here or just close by or whatever, they can come. Yes, open air meetings out back. But you were just saying, did I head up where we like putting committees together or anything. No, we've not at our church where we were going. We have a pastor, but things we haven't been right now. I think they even have a thing of wearing masks, and we can't submit to that. You know.
No, honestly, I'm
so shocked that they even did that. But anyway, go ahead.
I'm gonna have to. I have to do kind of a formal apology for my my. See, like I was pushing back on my employer about wearing face mask, and they basically mandated it. They say you have to wear a face mask in order to be employed here, and it's like I'm not gonna, throw my job away and then lose my house, things like that. So you have to kind of just roll with it if you want to survive, I guess.
Yeah, right. In some situations, yes, I agree.
Yeah. Now,
like my mother's in a nursing home. I have to wear a mask to go see her. Hey, it's my mother. She's 96, so yeah. But God, but conforming to that, But go ahead.
Yeah, my wife and I are kind of on the same page now, where we don't even want to go to a restaurant where they want you to wear a mask. We'll just go to the places that are willing to let you come in
exactly
without a mask.
Right, because if we don't, see, that's what we need to do. We need to stop shopping at those places. They need to know they're going to lose business, because it's wrong. It's absolutely wrong. And the thing is, if you submit to this mask so easily, people do, and I'm not talking about us, I'm talking about the general, like this deceived out there. They think they're doing right. They think, oh, we're just protecting. No, you're not protecting. That's all a lie. When you submit to, it's just like the mark is the first, the mask is the first phase of a mark.
Yeah.
Mark of the beast.
Yeah.
That's where it's heading.
Trust me. So I'm about to tell you something real quick, and this will probably get my video.
I've got plenty of time, so go ahead.
This is why I do live streaming, because I have a feeling that if I mention certain things that my video deleted. But so like I don't know if you followed like the Bill Gates, or maybe it was Microsoft. They have a patent where they're basically it's called the body activated cryptocurrency system. Do you know what I'm talking about?
Yeah, kind of like the 5G thing, the 5G, and
well, yeah, I think that has something to do with the communications aspect of it. I feel like so they're basically saying that the body activated data is really just your health. And they're planning on injecting nano tattoos or sort of microchip or whatever, that you're going to communicate with these towers or these the 5G like you're talking about, and basically the system that they developed or patented is saying that unless you are healthy, you cannot operate under the currency, or you can't buy and sell. In other words,
can't buy or sell. As the Bible says, without the mark. Exactly.
See, this is where if somebody has blinders on, they're going to say, "Okay, whatever." But
yeah, exactly.
It's like, really, I grew up in church, and we've been talking about this like for years and years and years. Like, be ready. Don't. So Jesus in Matthew 24, the Olivet Discourse, will say. Basically, the disciples came to him saying, what will these signs be? What will be the sign of your coming and the end of the age? And he says, watch out that nobody deceives you. For many will come into my name saying, I am the Christ.
Right.
And will deceive many.
So, yeah, I'm following you completely. That's exactly. Yes, you're right.
I'm sorry, but this is like pretty blatant stuff. And
yes, it is.
You got, if you can't read between the lines, I'm sorry. I mean, this stuff has been out in the open now, and it's like everything is thrusting us into this new world order system. And I hate, this 7-headed beast with 10 horns that, as described in Revelation, was the kingdoms that actually assembled into one. And now. I mean, I'm sorry. I'm ranting.
No, I hear you. Keep going, because that's exactly right. I totally agree with you. I've been seeing these things. I've said, my gosh, this is going to take us right into to the mark of the beast. I mean, this is just submitting. Are you kidding me? They're going to tell us, well, even just stop and think. Put this on my mouth. Excuse me. God gave me 2 nostrils and a mouth. That's where I breathe air so I can live. You know, I know that's minor, but I'm just saying,
He gave you an
even that
immune
right there,
system
if you
too.
could think. Pardon me?
He gave you an immune system too.
Exactly.
To
To
fight off
inoculate.
viruses.
Right. The whole thing. And people aren't thinking. Like I say, it's like they've checked their brains at the door. They're not thinking now. So many people, and it's like, oh, you don't shut down a whole world over a virus. Period. That's never been done. Not like this. The whole world,
I don't know.
businesses, everything. Go ahead.
I try to avoid. I mean, yeah, you could say I lean right when it comes to my political standing, but I don't necessarily. I kind of disconnect from politics a little bit for the most part.
Yeah.
But I lean the direction that basically what God has or Jesus has basically taught. And what was I saying? Wow, I totally lost.
We were talking about the mask, and we were talking about the mask and submitting to all this stuff. And you said the 5G, and they're going to control everything. So we know that this is going right into the tribulation.
Yeah. My brain is right now.
It's probably, is there a 5G tower around there? No, I'm just kidding.
Yeah, there is.
Exactly. Messing with our brain, if you don't talk about anything anti, you're going to freeze up,
Yeah, I think that somebody activated the nanobots that are going around in my brain. No, I don't know. Anyways, I totally. Gosh, I'm. This is what happens to me every once in a while. I think it's the aluminum that got in my brain with all the chemtrails. I'm just kidding.
Well, yeah. Well, sometimes I'm thinking, like I said, I said, there's no telling what they may be doing. What there's even with like a laptop and thing. I mean, there's no telling what's. It's not only what they're messing with. Technology-wise, there's some things going on that I don't even think we've caught up to yet in knowing what they're doing. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Even aside from that, spiritual-wise too. There's just I can feel it's like oh my gosh, it's just in the atmosphere. What's going on? My spirit is on high alert, and I know it's by the Holy Spirit. It's like I've got to stay on high alert, like the Bible says. Be awake. Do not be sleeping. Wake up, O sleeper. We're supposed to spiritually be awake to what's going on. And it's so sad and heartbreaking to see so many that are asleep spiritually. It's like they don't have a clue. And I'm thinking, honey, did you not ever read the book of Revelation? I mean, heard anything about it at all? I just can't. I guess they can't go there. Their brain just doesn't go there for some reason. There's so much. Because the deception is so overwhelmingly convincing.
Yeah.
Oh, this is all for your health. I mean, they were trying to program us with everything on TV, commercials and everything of these masks. I mean, it's just, shield. That we're going to wear these shields and all these things. I mean, my God, this is nothing but control. So it's, so I mean, like you're saying, and I think maybe what you're trying to touch on there, it's saying this is more spiritual than anything else. And you're right. If that's what you're saying, I totally agree with that.
It is, and I feel that we were warned, and I feel like everything's kind of coming to fruition. And if we're, I've been waking up more so now, because honestly, I kind of, I'm not going to say I backslid necessarily, but there was things I just didn't really care as much about. But now it's like I noticed, like, oh my gosh, these things are happening now. Yes. And it's like that's almost like, okay, here's my cue to get my life right with God again. And it's like
yeah, things are getting serious, and you're seeing the seriousness of things, and it's no time to play around. It's time to make sure you're right and get right with God. And I mean, everything's just kind of been brought to the forefront. It's like, okay, here we go, folks. Either this is what's happening. It's like everybody's being brainwashed into a whole new world, And we've got to keep our heads on and our spirits sharp and tuned in to what's going on.
Yeah. No, Betty, I appreciate your willingness to talk about this topic too. I have, I think I'm sharing this stream on my other channel, Contemplating the Cosmos, as well. I have 2 YouTube channels. I have 4BZ Truth and I have Contemplating the Cosmos. The reason I decided to start my second channel is because I have had 6 videos deleted, and I believe I've been shadow banned quite a bit because I have over 2,500 subscribers, and sometimes my videos will only get like 20, 30 views. And it's like, really? I know that I used to get a lot more views. So anyways, but the point is, I mean, I'm just going to keep pressing forward on this. I hope you continue to do the same. And I know that I'm inspired to, assemble more than I have, because in a lot of ways I feel like a lot of it has to do with obviously we don't want to break the law, but it's like why would going to church be breaking the law? Just think about that.
Right. That's what I'm saying. It's deception. There you go. They're just saying that, it's like, oh, but it's okay. Like the coronavirus is not going to hurt you out there protesting. There's no chance of you getting anything. But it's only in church buildings you're going to get something. I mean, yeah, go ahead. But I hear what you're saying. If I can maybe say this, and I want you to continue. So what you're saying is like, you don't want to appear like somebody who's trying to break the laws, but these laws are violating not only God's law for us as Christians, but the Constitution. This is a violation of our First Amendment rights and all the Bill of Rights and the Constitution. And that's the supreme law of the land. So I think that we need to call them on this and say, no, we're not going to do these things. This is a violation of the Constitution, right? I mean, there may be some civil lawsuits that I think need to start coming forth. The Bible says, Christians shouldn't sue. That means don't sue your brother. We're not suing our brother. It's the devil.
Yeah.
I mean, coming against the enemy, the spirit that's working against the Constitution that was laid out according to the Bible. Yeah. I mean, we, the people, we are the kings. We are the kings and queens of the Constitution. We elect and vote and elect them to serve us. And this is tyranny. They've turned on us.
We have to keep them accountable.
Taking our rights away from us. Pardon me?
We have to keep them accountable.
Exactly. Yes, I totally agree and understand. So go ahead. I just want to interject with that to let you know that I saw what you're saying and I agree.
No, Betty, I could definitely talk about this all night. I got to go hang out with my wife, I think.
Okay.
She's sitting there watching TV while I do my thing. But,
okay.
Okay. I just wanted to kind of wrap up and say thanks everybody in the chat and listening to our exchange here, me and Betty. And, your story has touched a lot of lives, and I'm hoping it'll touch a vast number of people. And I hope that this actual video recording, for anybody that is listening to this now or even recording, please give us a thumbs up on the video. It actually helps the algorithm to get the word out there. And Betty, you're welcome to share this link to your Facebook or whatever. I mean, honestly, I think it's good to get the word out there. I want people to hear your.
Absolutely. Let me ask you: is this going to be on YouTube?
It is also on YouTube.
Yes. Yeah. Okay. That's what I thought. So I wouldn't. Okay. That's what I thought. So, and it's on the 4BZ Truth instead of that Contemplating Cosmos. Okay. Well, it doesn't matter. You say you got 2 shows.
My show is called Contemplating the Cosmos. I started the other channel as a fallback. So 4BZ Truth. Yeah, 4BZ Truth is really my main channel, but my last name is Forbes, so the 4BZ Truth is my last name.
Got it.
Forbes
Yeah,
Truth.
I was about that BZ. I got it now. Yeah.
Yes. So, anyways, a lot of people are like, "What the heck kind of name is that for a channel?" It's like, anyways. Yes. But yeah, so yeah, YouTube is not my favorite place to operate from nowadays, because they're all about the New World Order. But
Exactly. I follow you. Yeah, it's horrible. I mean, I would love to talk more about all this too sometime. I see what you're saying, but go ahead.
no,
And I pray that more people that this does touch lives, because that's what it's all about. To reach
yeah,
people for the truth and for God, and to, on the good side of things. And so that people would, I mean, I want hearts to be touched so that people realize that Jesus is the only way to heaven. Jesus is the way, the truth, and the life. And I absolutely stood in front of him. I can testify to it, besides knowing it from the Word of God. So,
yeah. Absolutely. And well, I'm going to have to wrap it up.
okay.
It's 10:30 Mountain Time now, so
Yes.
I'm thanking everybody that is in the chat and have been interactive with questions and whatnot. Thanks, Betty Cohn. You've been a
You're
blessing,
welcome.
and
You're
I
welcome.
hope that you have an amazing night. And I know you stayed up a little later. You're in Central Time.
Yes, that's okay.
But it's been a blessing. I hope that I can, stay in touch with you. Maybe down the road we can touch base again too. Or we're on that forum together with Eric Jurdy, and
Yes. Yeah, we can do this. I'd love to do it again sometime and share more and go into more. Because there's, yes.
I definitely I'm trying to integrate myself into the community the best way I can, and I feel like this NDE community is actually very, very accepting of me, so it makes me happy. Anyways,
Yes.
so
Oh, yes.
anyway.
Yeah, I thoroughly enjoyed it, and you've been very good letting me have the floor there to tell, when we get on a train of thought, we want to finish. And so it's been great, and I appreciate it, and it's been an honor.
All right, Betty. Well, we'll have a great night. We'll talk to you here down the road, okay?
Okay. Thank you, and God bless you.
All right. God bless. Okay, bye.